Hey, how you doing? This is John with Crazy Hair and All. This is John from John's Long Box, and this is my Stir Crazy stream. What does that mean? That means I literally broke my neck, and this is the fifth week of 8 that I have to wear this stupid neck brace. My car is gone, so been out of work, so this is 6 weeks no paycheck. So I'm trying not to spend any money, and usually on Mondays and Thursday nights I schedule a game night with friends. So I look forward to that. But my friends got COVID, so they're not coming over. I'm just spinning this light around to make me look less ghoulish. So I was looking forward to interacting with people today. Believe it or not, I actually like people, contrary to most people on the internet. I enjoy people. I like having people at my house and, playing games and stuff like that. I'm a big board gamer. So I put on Twitter that I would do a Stir Crazy stream and asked if people would pop in. So I'm waiting for people to pop in. I figured we talk. Well, yeah, because my guest tonight, I've got COVID. They can't come over. So, we got Frederick Goumont in the chat. Hey, John, it's good to see you. It's good to see you too. And just so you know, this is an open invite. Anybody could pop in. Anybody could come. I'm trying to. I got a plastic thing on the ground, and my chair has made like divots in it. So I got to get in a spot to get the right spot. So this is an open invite. Anybody can pop in and let's talk. Let's chat. Talk about what we want. Comic books. I kind of have a topic, but I'm waiting to see if Yang is gonna pop in. So I've been there, injured, out of work 7 months at a time. Yeah, so you understand. Going crazy. In February, if anybody remembers, I had hernia surgery and I was out of work for 6 weeks. But that was scheduled, and I had a car, and that was scheduled, so like money wasn't really a big issue. So that wasn't that bad. Like if I felt like going out, I'd go out. But this was sudden, in case people were wondering. I passed out while driving. No, I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't drinking. I was coming home from work. It was like with the heat index, it was like 106 degrees in New York. I was driving home. I didn't eat breakfast. I didn't eat lunch because I was leaving at lunchtime, and everything just started to tunnel vision, and I passed out, hit a tree, broke my neck, broke my full neck, wrecked the car. That's poor car. That car deserved better than that. So I'm home. It's going through insurance. When I scheduled my surgery, that was scheduled through work and everything like that. So it was time off and vacation pay and things like that. This is going through insurance. Now I'm supposed to get full reimbursement, but you're dealing with insurance, so it takes a while. A lot of that time rehabbing in a kid age home. Yeah. For those of you who don't know what Marcus is talking about, he had COVID so bad he was in a coma. So for correct me if I'm wrong, but you were in a coma for like a month or weeks. Or yeah. Emily Kruger says, "Hail, how you doing, Emily? Remember, always get hurt at work." I know. I had a friend that we were working together. He was riding his motorcycle, and he felt that he was having a heart attack. So this crazy bastard drove to work while having a heart attack and then called an ambulance. You were in a coma for 16 days. That's right. Excuse me. So again, anybody, Bueller, if nobody pops in, I'm just going to stop. I was hoping to have people come in and talk. Hey, Pity Ma. Hey, Pity Ma, how you doing? Oh, just a second. Yang's coming. Okay, so this is the open invite for anybody. I know this is not my normal time, but like I said, I'm just sitting here. I will talk about this. Oh, Marcus is driving. Okay, yeah, Marcus is at work. I've been rereading these Fantastic Fours. For those of you who have no idea why, I've been inventorying my comics. My hard drive crashed a couple of months ago, so my hard drive has what's the name of my software? Comic Base 2024. the archival edition. That's the software that I use to keep track of my comics. And when my computer crashed, that database went kablooey. My friend Paul was able to fix my computer. So now I'm going through my comics and reorganizing them. What I do is I have a scanner and I scan little barcodes, pre barcodes. I have to put them in by hand. Hey, Yang.
Hey, how's it going?
So when I was doing this, I saw that I missed Fantastic Four 271 to 278. So I don't know why I missed them. I don't recall missing them, but I was like, I remember hating the Tom DeFalco, Paul Bulanadi run because I had to me, it was like, it's all disjointed. It's like Image Comics, they make no sense. And then I bought the comics that I was missing, and I just remember hating this run so much that they've been sitting on my stack for like months and months. So I finally said, you know what? Let me just read them. It's only 8 issues. And they were awesome. It was so good. And they explained all of the problems with the run. A lot happened. So I was like, let me see if I still hate this run. So I just continued reading. I'm going to read until 414, the last of the first series of Fantastic Four. And I'm really, really enjoying it. I have to say, Paul Ryan and Paul Bulanadi, they're probably my second favorite thing. Kirby, remember, when I say these things, Kirby and Lee are in a league of their own. They're untouchable, like on top of Mount Olympus. So I'm talking like John Byrne and everybody else, but like the way he draws Ben Grimm is awesome. And I realized, well, now that it's all in order, I got all the continuity worked out in my head because I'm a crazy person. Continuity has to be, like, one of the things that's bothered me is Sharon Ventura. She got mutated by Dr. Doom and then left. And so far, it's been like 30 issues. They haven't brought her back. Like that's a loose end. There's a monster roam because she looks monstrous. There's a monster roaming New York. We got to address that. But
it's New York. I mean, would you even notice?
Yeah, I know. I used to roam Manhattan and nobody said anything. So there you go. But my only complaint, and this is totally nitpicking, is you know what? Let me set up my extra camera so I paid for it. Damn it! I might as well use it, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So how you doing, Yang? I have something I thought you would appreciate once you said you were going to pop in. A surprise in a minute.
I have been very busy trying to get things together, get things going on my campaign. So
I'm gonna
nice.
I'm gonna do this. So I'll even has a little light on it. But this is my only nitpick about this run, and I finally figured it out. I don't know if you can see it under this lighting so much, but it's better quality paper, and it's the infancy of like that of Malibu colors.
Yeah.
So I just think that the colors, and I always say the word artificial because I don't know the proper word, but I think, and I wonder if anybody could do this, if anybody could take one of these Paul Ryan, Tom DeFalco issues and put like a filter over it to make it look like the old newsprint and old coloring, I bet you this would be just great. But it just, how you take like a Lee Kirby or a John Buscema comic, and then you put it in an omnibus and it gets recolored. The colors just look too centric. That's right now. That's my only criticism. Like this, that, and comics used to just be like main story, B story, a little bit, end. New story, the little story becomes the big story. This is just full on, just goes to the next, like you can't catch your breath. Like we need like an X-Men comic where the Fantastic Four just sit and play baseball for an issue. Like, because this it's like a river that just never ends. It's kind of exhausting. And I'm glad I read this because this is stuff making me think like constant doom threat, constant doom and threat, constant doom and threat, constant doom and threat. It's exhausting. Like there really should be like a boom, all problems are solved. Oh, look, new problems. You know what I mean? But it's just, but I'm really, really liking it a lot. This is like one of those instances. I was really glad that I was missing comics. It forced me to go back and revisit something because Tom DeFalco, I got probably spam. Tom DeFalco is coming on my channel, and now I can actually legitimately say that I liked your comics. You know, I didn't want to have him on when I still had like, I didn't like your run, you know, you. So there you go. Oh, I can turn the slide off.
Yeah, I agree with you about the colors. That's kind of a big problem. You know, back in the day, they understood how these colors would look on newsprint, which is why they used them. Like everything now looks so garish. You know, it
Garish,
looks
that's a good word.
like The Simpsons. You know, like that just bright burn a hole in your eyes. And yeah, those are still the same colors, but because the newsprint made it so much more subdued, like it actually looked really good.
I was told, and I'll take it because I'm not an artist, I'm not a colorist, I'm not any of that. I'm barely a writer. That the newsprint absorbed ink.
Yep.
You know, so but this Baxter paper, it's better quality paper, so like the ink isn't wasted in the material. And so, and a lot of these omnibuses, they're just using the same color guides for the newsprint, but they're not taking the absorption in. So but it makes sense to me, but I don't know if that's true.
No,
Hey,
no, that's
my
definitely
buddy
true.
Pete, I haven't seen Pete in a long time. How's it going, Pete? You know, this is an open invite. I always tell people that this channel was born in Pete. I don't want to say his last name, in Pete's kitchen. You know, he invited me over. We were playing. I went to school with Pete's wife. So Pete's wife, Allison, and I have been friends since 3rd grade. And then me and Pete started getting out together and getting along like gangbusters. To like Allison's like, he used to be my friend. We're like, Allison, I'm talking to Pete. Get out of here. and we were playing board games. And then I just said, I have this idea for a YouTube channel just because I'm bored. You know, I moved and I don't know anybody. It's during COVID. And Pete was like, you should do it. So Pete will always get credit for, the original guy I bounced an idea off. Tom DeFalco started with Archie Comics. Do you know what year? Do you know what year? And if anybody else wants to join it. So okay, you were talking and then I got excited when Pete showed up.
Yeah, newsprint's the stuff. Yeah, so with newsprint, like you have to be careful about how much ink you put on there, because it'll saturate the paper too much, which is one reason why they weren't so vibrant. Most modern papers, like I'm not quite sure the technical term, but like the ink is definitely more on the surface, you know? So you can put more on there because you don't have to worry about it going over to the other side.
I was also told when checking out the colors for my comic Heroic Tales will be coming out. I'll throw up the link in a second. 5 days left on Kickstarter. And I don't know exactly which day we're going to launch on Indiegogo, but it's going to be a Friday night, so I could do a proper launch party. Everybody's invited. But
nice.
I was told when checking out the colors, keep in mind that you're checking it out on a computer when there's light coming out. So it's going to look a little different on the paper. So I appreciate that. Yeah. Most people don't get excited when I show up. Yeah, well, we're white men in our 50s, Pete. What do you want me to say? Well, we're the cause of all the problems of the world right now. If only we would stop with the inventions and medical science and, ending slavery.
If only there were a hero we could look to, like the patriarch.
Yeah, there you go. A white man.
Available on Kickstarter.
Well, he's only in his 40s. He's only 44 when
okay. He's a young whippersnapper.
Yeah, I know. To me, 44 is like, oh man, I wish I was 44 again. But his origin, he got his powers in the year 2000, so that makes him 22 when he got his powers. So I will do a flashback story. I didn't want to start with his origin because I didn't know if I'd ever make it to an issue 2. You know what I mean? And I was like, you don't want to waste your capital on an origin for characters that nobody really cares about yet. So I'm hoping by the time I could do his origin in issue 4, you'll care about the character.
Yeah. Better to build it up a little bit, give a little mystery, how he got the way he is.
Oh, I might as well bring this up. Last night I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning. I call this the dialogue script.
Oh.
So I wrote a script with all the description that I gave to Renzo, panel by panel, like a full script, send it to Renzo. It's, like one page would have like 5 panels, and then when I got the art back, one page had 9 panels, but I'm looking at them like, this is absolutely better. you know, and some of the panels had like little inserts inside the panels, close up of a thing. And I was like, yeah, this is so much better. So obviously you have to change. I can't send my original script to the letterer because he's going to be like, yeah. So I rewrote it, and it gives you a chance to update the dialogue. So I realized that I wrote the script 2 years ago. Wow, I can't believe I keep looking at the art, and I very rarely reread the script. So I had to reread the script, rewrite the script, and I was dreading. I actually 2 nights ago I woke up in the middle of the night. I can't keep putting this off. Can't keep putting this off. Like I don't know why I was stressing out about it. And my wife was like, she came down because I was at 4 o'clock in the morning printing out the script so I could, because I do better with things in my hand than looking at. And she's like, I thought I heard the print. Is everything all right? And she said I had like a panic look. She got like, are we losing the house? Like, what's going? And I was like, I got to print out the script. And she just goes, you're retarded, and goes back to bed. But I was, that's, I'm getting eyes on my project now. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, you got to make sure it's
not
good.
that
Right?
I wasn't taking it serious, but pressure's up. So, and we got Hero Tales Conflict. Right now, it's only on Kickstarter. The window to get the real cool Pat Broderick cover is closed right now. Right now, the window is closing for the Michael T. Gilbert cover, and then the window will open for the Mike Gustovich cover. That as of right now, only one stream spoiled that cover. I showed a black and white cover for that in the I forget where. Oh, the closing. If you watch my closing stream, Yang was on that. The last half hour is overtired, spoiling way too much. Showing. But,
well, it happens. It happens.
Yeah. So I rewrote the dialogue. There was a couple I was like, ooh, this is cringy. So I tried to change it. Also, keep in mind, even though the comic is set in 2024, they got cell phones and modern cars and stuff. The philosophy is it's a Bronze Age superhero story. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to, modern comics are all like, what's the word? Like
depressing.
Yes, depressing. Yeah, that's a good word. But there's a style that I'm trying to avoid. So so if anybody says, man, this seems like old fashioned, I'm like, oh, good, thank you. That's what I was going for. Like I don't want it to be like, I don't know, like Josh Whedon-esque, like.
Oh yeah.
Quippy is the word I was thinking about. Yeah, John went nuts and I showed everything. Not me. Thank God you didn't want to see that. Yeah, it wasn't an OnlyFans stream, but I showed way too much stir crazy. So you finally got nuts. Yes. Yeah. I'll be cutting off my ear and my comic scripts will get better, right? Is that Yang? We were talking to you. Oh no, I was talking with Pete Samedi about this. Remind me to bring this subject up, but I'll finish this. So
all right.
So I my comic is supposed to be old fashioned. I don't want to say dated because that's bad old fashioned. But like if you watch like Sunset Boulevard and stuff like that, that's old fashioned, but that ain't dated. That's still a great movie. Star Wars is not dated, but to me it's like superior to the most science fiction that came out right now. But anyway, that's what I'm trying to go for. If anybody says to me this comic seems old fashioned, I'm like, thank you. Then it worked.
Are there thought bubbles?
Yeah. It was funny because
nice.
Most of the comic is the patriarch flying around the city. It's Father's Day. So he's trying to get home for Father's Day. He's got 7 kids, but he's also a superhero. So unlike Superman, where Superman just has like godlike omniscience, the patriarch actually has to strain to use his powers and senses. Mm-hmm. So he in one instance, he flies up above the clouds. He's like, okay, I'm going to go home now, but one last check. He's a good guy. He wants to go home. He's talking about he wants to get his ham and eggs breakfast. It's Father's Day. And he releases the sentence. He's like, ooh, and then he goes and starts the clock all over again, fighting, and he's getting tireder. I'm trying to stress, Yang, let me know when you get the comic, that it's strenuous for him to use his abilities. And I hinted, but I didn't tell you, he was already up all night doing other stuff. So he, So at the beginning of the issue, he was already on his way home. After, matter of fact, I'm glad I went through the script, because when he goes into the bank, there's a big flat screen TV, and I was going to write like newscast like about what he was already doing, and then I never wrote that until I went through the script, so I got to send that to the letterer. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that would have been one of the things, like, look at this flat screen TV with nothing on it, because the internet is, they're going to pick apart everything. So, so I thinking about that. So that's one of the things I'm trying to get across, is that he's a normal human, but with powers, but everything's strenuous. Everything is difficult. And I already spoiled it that he's telekinetic. He's not invulnerable like Superman. And one of the things that I think, like, Jean Grey is just like telekinesis, and they basically make her Superman. But to me, telekinetic is concentrating. You know what I mean? So like, he's literally deflecting the bullets, and he has to constantly be aware of everything. So like, while he's deflecting the bullets, you could walk up and punch him in the head. Unless he hears you coming, then he could telekinetic.
Yeah.
It's not the Invisible Woman, who I think would have a superior defense. She could just throw up a dome.
Yeah.
Or she could put a bubble, but he's literally using, like, he doesn't just put up telekinetic force fields. Like, he's
got to move everything himself.
Yeah. And then there's one scene where he's fixing something, and I'm trying to stress how difficult it was to fix, because breaking something is easy. I could walk up with a hammer and break your door, but to repair your door and it's the same thing with, like, he's trying to smooth everything out, make all the machine parts work again. And he's like woozy after that. So I'm trying to set up that he's vulnerable. So I'm glad I rewrote it, because I don't think it worked in the first script. Just swoop from the sky and a few people that read the script were just like, why did he do this at the very first time? And I'm like, because his powers. And I realized I was Eric Julying. I wasn't giving people enough to understand the story. Why did he do that? Because he had to do it, because it's the limitations of his powers. And I'm being vague right now until you get the comic. But I realized if you had read the script, the whole opening sequence probably would have been like, he's deceptive. Like, this is your first appearance of a superhero and he's deceptive. Well, he's deceptive because you can't let the bad guys know exactly what your weakness is. So of course. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, I was up till like 3 a.m. last night. We rewriting the script. I'm just chomping at the bit for the last 3 colored pages to come in. And I don't know about you guys. I am so computer illiterate. I got stuff in like a Google box to try to get it out of the Google box to put it into my computer so I could work with it and then send it to the letter. Oh my God, I want to punch somebody in the face. It's so freaking difficult. I know computer people are laughing at me right now. I got Windows 11. My computer can't handle. I got to get a new computer. And it's not user friendly. People keep telling me to get a Mac. And I think after spending all night just figuring out how to move files from like the cloud to my computer, I might get them. They say it's better for artists.
I've got a Mac, but I got to tell you, I have problems with the Google Drive too.
It's not intuitive.
No, well, the problem is, so with my editor, I'm throwing up files into my Google Drive. So I don't know if she's able to download the files or if she's just editing it right into there. Yeah, because I had some issue with TextBox.
Yours is all words. Yes, you're not talking about art.
No, not yet. But I had TextBox and they got mixed up, like they got all out of order somehow. And so I just copied all the text from those boxes and just sent it to her in an email. So she put it on like a Google Doc, and it's horrible. I can't download that doc, but I can copy and paste from the wherever she put it on the Google Drive. But the problem is, you know how you have like editing trackers? Okay. So like normally, like if she makes some edits on
the rock in your house, I'll do that. But you want me to do anything with the computer?
Well,
I literally talked to my friend Paul.
But yeah, there's parts where like if she makes an edit, right, the document is supposed to just show what she has there, but my original stuff is there. So if I want to look at like what was changed, I'd be able to look at it. But the problem is when it's up on Google, it's just like what I wrote just has a line through it. So now that means I have to like copy and paste and then individually delete all the crap with line through it. It's terrible.
Yeah, I just messaged Bill Williams, is the letterer for my comic. He already lettered and finished the backup story, so that's how much
nice.
that's done. I'm just waiting for the last 3 colored pages of the main story, and then we'll be ready to pre-press and all that stuff. But I said, how do I send this to you? That's how computer illiterate I am. Like I'm wondering, do I email one page at a time? Like here's the art, here's the page 1 script. You know what I mean? So I'm just waiting for him, but he's a night bird, so I did it first thing this morning around midnight tonight. He'll respond to me. Logic Finest always has some good comments, and I'm still waiting for him to come on the channel. Oh, by the way, tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to do Comics Great number 3. It's going to be the Elementals 6 to 10, because RRNT, I think I said his name right, he's in New Zealand, and he was like, please let me come on and talk. Elementals is my favorite comic, so I always like to talk. So this is the only time that I can coordinate. For me, anytime. But I'm not going to do 3 o'clock in the morning. We'll be realistic. Nobody's going to be here to watch it. So 11 o'clock tonight p.m. New York time, Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to do that. But anyway, Logic Finest. Modern comics are nihilistic with heavy doses of sarcasm that's more caustic than actually funny. I will say that when it comes to humor, comic books are the worst for humor. I could probably count on one hand how many times comic books that was supposed to be funny were actually funny. And one of them offhand that I could just think of right now is Mike Barron's Florida Man is actually funny, because to me, that's like a sitcom in a comic book format. But most humor in comics is abysmal. And of course, the exception being Mad Magazine. But of course, I also haven't read a Mad Magazine since I was 9 years old. So maybe it's, but I got to go back and reread Mad Magazines. I wonder if they're still funny. But like, Marvel Mad, like not Brand X, has that for a topical comic that probably was canceled in 1973, and then they reprinted it as ARG. Oh, they're short. I don't like parody for the most part. We all laugh at Saturday Night Live, but Saturday Night Live is what, like 40 years, and we still laugh at the same 7 clips. You know what I mean? There's a lot of Saturday Night Live that's just not funny. So most of what Gen Z creates or gravitates reflects. So I will say this. I think I'm funny, but I think I'm naturally funny, but I can't write humor because
it's tough.
It's tough. So I wrote one joke in issue 2 in the Mary Sue story, just because it fit that character. And it was like, she was nervous. So she made a joke that might actually be funny. Let me know. I'll stay away from it if I can't. We got some person over here. Van Gogh may have been finding a more creative way to tell his girlfriend she talks too much. I think I dated that girl. I'll rather cut off my. I dated a girl that, this was before cell phones, so we had to. I would literally sit on the computer playing Civilization, and she would talk and talk. I would literally put the phone over there, play for, I'm not even joking, 20 minutes, pick up the phone, and she had no idea that I did that, So finally, the worst thing in the world, I said, you talk so much. And that was the beginning of the end. So Van Gogh did it the smart way. All right. But hey, Brian, how you doing? If you want to come in, there's an invite in the chat. When I catch up to the comments, I'll put another invite. The cloud is only good for saving games. I'm not a Yang. Are you a video gamer?
Not so much. I would get sucked into them, so I don't let myself play too much.
I
played the Baldur's Gate last year, but that was it.
I know me. If I started playing video games, I would get nothing done. I would get nothing done. I wouldn't shower. I wouldn't work overtime. I wouldn't do anything. They look too much fun. Yeah. And at the risk of sounding like an old person, if I, hey, how you doing, Yang? And I meet you for the first 10 seconds. And if in that first 10 seconds, if you tell me you're into video games, I'm like, like I know they're fun, but I also think drugs are fun too. And I think video games. Like when I was in college, I avoided all the potheads. I know everybody's going to get mad at me, not because they were bad people. Quite the contrary, they were actually very nice people. But I always found that the potheads were just content to just sit around and do nothing. It made them content to be bored, and that's I look at to an outsider. I know when you're playing the video game, you're in Saturn and Jupiter and space and the distant. But to me, walking in the room, you know what I mean, and it just looks boring to me. So I got the old man mentality of turn that thing off, go outside, like even a comic book.
I had some friends fail out of college because they just played video games all day. That was back in the 90s.
I know people who work for Marvel Comics that have to get ghostwriters at the last minute to finish their scripts because they're playing video. I'll install you, Ceiling Fan. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. Just don't do what my friend Carl's father did. Install the ceiling fan right next to the light, so when you turn it on, the light blinks and everybody gets nauseous.
Great. You can fix my the three-way switch that I screwed up too.
Unless the comic smells funny. What is this? This looks. Oh! It's comics aren't funny unless they smell funny. A buddy of mine gave me I'm known as the comic book guy at work, and every once in a while, guys would be like, "Listen, man, I found this box of comics in my garage. I forgot about them. You want them?" And they open it up, and you could just smell the mildew and black mold on the comics. I'm like, okay, and I don't want to be a jerk and just swat them out of his hand. I take the box and I pretend to be excited, and then that box does not even come to my house because that's all I need is your mold. So
yeah,
but these guys had good intentions. They were nice, and if you tell them these comics are garbage, people like comic books. The average person likes comic books. They just don't buy them anymore. They don't know where to get them. They're too expensive and they're too confusing, and then they're not that good once they get them. But they have an emotional attachment to old comics that they read. They have they'll talk about them. Oh yeah, Green Lantern did this and Wonder Woman, and I remember Batman. Oh yeah, he jumped in and he was fighting the ventriloquist. They get it. And these are guys that are tattooed motorcycle guys that you know what I mean to operate big heavy machineries, but they like them. So to take that moldy comic and throw it away right in front of them, that's like me. So I won't do that. So. I try to take everything in the spirit that it was offered. And a big box of moldy comic books, they're giving me something that they really enjoyed, even though. And if anybody knows, maybe there's a way to clean them, I just thought of that. Because I know now pressing comics and ironing comics is like a thing, which I'm terrified to do.
I wonder if you could pop them in the oven at a low temperature to kill the mold.
Yeah, there you go. That's
maybe
it burned down my house. I'll forget. My wife's like, "What's in the oven?" Spider-Man. Nihilism. I assume this is good. Nihilism is a good word to describe the problem with contemporary mainstream comics. I don't even think it's nihilism, because to me, nihilism is they're doing it on purpose. To me, it's people who have no business writing comics. They're not even smart enough or good enough or interested enough to be nihilistic. Literally, Marvel and DC went out of the way to recruit people who'd never wanted to write comics. You're going to tell me T. Franklin was 12 years old going, man, I want to grow up and write Spider-Man. She was recruited, and now she's getting a paycheck. She could sit at home and eat her edibles and act like a maniac on the internet and get a paycheck. She's not at the nail salon. She's not doing anything physical. She doesn't have a boss yelling at. She could sleep till 11:30. And these are the people oh man, this comic gig is great, but they never wanted to write comics. If it's Brian, am I making any sense? You can tell I had a lot of coffee. Unfortunately, the same applies to most movie comedies. I find most, What was, good question. Chat. We got 44 people. And Yang, what was the last comedy? When I say last comedy, don't ping up Animal House. What is the most recently made comedy that you watched that actually made you laugh?
I can't remember the name. There's a new one on Amazon Prime. I think it's on Amazon Prime. It's got Aquafina and the wrestler who doesn't know Taiwan's a country. John Cena.
That was good.
There were parts of that were good. I lived in Los Angeles for 12 years, and a lot of it's just making fun of people from Los Angeles. So that was pretty good. That part was good.
I gotta say, the last movie that I remember watching. Have you seen a show called Kevin Can F Himself?
I have heard of it, but I've never watched it.
Oh my god, I loved it. It was scary. It was funny. It was really good. There was a little bit of ham-handed feminism, but the thing is, the person who said it is the worst person in the world. So I don't even know. Like I'm not smart enough to figure out if it was supposed to be taken badly because this person or whatever. So I'm erring on my side that it was even so. But I recommend the show. I watched this by myself because my wife didn't want to watch it because it looked scary to her. And I was upstairs like explaining all the story. Like, oh my god, it's like but yeah, that was the last thing I watched. I actually laughed.
Is that the one where like the guy is in a sitcom and
Yes.
his wife is in like a horror movie
Yes.
or something? Oh, okay. All right. I have been meaning to watch that
Really,
one.
really good. It's really
Okay.
clever. Yeah, whenever the husband's there, it's like Everybody Loves Raymond, and it's like it's
Mhm.
shot with that sitcom thing. And then when he laughs, I guess they drop the filter and it's filmed like a movie. Like not to give too much away, but one of the things he's really into the what's the hockey team, the Bruins, because they're in Boston, so they got that Boston accent. And he orders a Bruins jersey, and she's just pissed off because she never has any money. They're broke. So she takes and she goes outside and she puts it in the neighbor's garbage. You know, you're supposed to feel sorry for the wife, but she's just as bad as him in her own way. And so he's like, the neighbors stole my thing. And it becomes like a Jerry Seinfeld thing. I got to get back at the neighbors. So he's launching fireworks at the neighbors. You know what I mean? Like a Seinfeld thing. Like you could see Jerry's father, like, the neighbors stole my jersey. This is war. They've always been after us. And then he leaves and the neighborhood's on fire. And it's scary. Like, you know what I mean? Because like,
yeah,
what would happen in real life. And then he could, so I don't want to give more away, but it's really, really good. And then there's a couple of scenes where you're like, it turns into Breaking Bad. Like you're biting your nails going, oh my God, how is she going to get out of this? Like Breaking Bad, you always knew he was going to get out of it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But you didn't know how he's, so you're like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. It was really good. I highly recommend it.
All right. I'm going to have to check that out.
To get the musty smell of the books, put newsprint in them to absorb the smell. Considering common. Oh, so what do you say? Like,
oh yeah,
correlate them? Is that the right word with an old newspaper?
Well, I mean, I probably wouldn't do it with an old newspaper because that ink might rub off onto the comics. But you can go like to any art store and they'll sell you like a whole pad of newsprint.
Oh, okay. It's not a problem now, but that's something I will think of because I do love the smell of comics. I told you that I dated a woman in Albuquerque who ran a comic book store, and I went to the first time I went to the books. It was an used bookstore, but it also dealt comics. And she was like, come here in the back room. And I'm all excited. I think we're going to make out in the back room. But we go in the back room and she's just like, and I'm all disappointed. I'm like, what? She's like, smell that. I'm like, it was just comics. Like the back room wasn't finished. So like you saw the beams that, small beams every 16 inches. And then in between there was just stacks and stacks of comics, like from the floor to almost the ceiling, because they at one point they were like a distributor in the Southwest, almost like Diamond and Luna. Back in the 90s, they were smaller distributors. So they got a warehouse full of old comics. And I love that smell. But that's not the smell you're talking about. Matthew Creaky, you may have been the only man on earth to like the Duck Hunt dog. Oh, Grandpa hated comics, but I skipped your comment. Okay. Baking soda? Well, like put baking soda on the comic or
like
put a box of it in the container with okay. I see.
Oh.
Okay.
Maybe.
Marvel gets their writers off of Twitter and their artists. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, by the way, did you happen to watch I was on the Fourth Age last night, comic book team up. We go back and forth. I was on with RJ 830. Okay. Why can't I think of his name? His name was Eddie. This guy is somebody better scoop this guy up. His comic looks phenomenal. It's called Enon of the Desert. And
cool.
this guy, like, I got really excited when I saw Reni's Fiendish comic, to the point like I wanted to
Mhm.
go out of my way and meet this person and talk to her, and like this guy, I just go into it cold. I didn't know who he was, and I just looked at this art, and he was telling these stories. Like, this is like in a healthy industry, this would be like the next Barry Windsor Smith, or like his art style is a perfect mix of Mobius anime, Buscema, Frazetta. Like, just go and watch. I told him I want to put him in touch with Rini and see if these two, like, because he doesn't know how to get out there. He was like, I did this comic by myself. I colored it by myself. I wrote it by myself. But he does storyboards for commercials, and he says,
Oh, nice.
It's not creative enough for him. But anyway, if anybody watches, go to the Fourth Age. That's RJ's channel, and watch. So,
All right, I'm going to check that out.
yeah, I rarely get like super excited over like again, if this was the 80s, he would be like the next Eastman and Laird, or Dave Sim or something. He's that talented. But
I think it's still possible.
What's that?
I think it's still possible to do, but I think that there's, it's tough. That's the thing. Those guys never really had to learn that much about marketing,
Right.
because they could just sell it, to give it to Diamond, sell it to a store. Whereas, these days you gotta figure out the marketing.
Well, that's just it. I keep bringing up this interview I heard with Gene Simmons on I forget what station it was, but he was being interviewed by some DJ talking about music, and Gene Simmons, the most arrogant guy in the world, a listener calls in and says like, "Hey, Gene, you're my inspiration. I want to be like you." Like, it's like, I'm a songwriter. I play guitar and I sing, but I want to do it all. Like, I want to market my band. I want to manage the band, and I want to control it all. I don't want anybody else to like influence. And Gene Simmons is like, listen, he goes, I'll believe in, that Gene Simmons arrogant voice. I believe that you could, because I never met you, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And I could believe that you could write songs, and I could believe that you could play music. He goes, and I believe that you could even sing, but even I need a lawyer, a marketer, roadies to carry the equipment. Even I, Gene Simmons, can't do it all myself. And that's the way I feel. Like, this guy last night, this guy could write, he could draw, he could color. He showed his pencils, and he was talking about his story, but he's flummoxed at the idea of getting this comic out. He said he printed like 100 copies, and he was giving them to his friends and family. So it's like, I was telling him about crowdfunding. He was like, what's crowdfunding? You know what I mean? Like, so I was like,
Yeah.
you put that out on crowdfunding, and I'll do my best to help you, get the idea out. But Stan Lee is gone. We got to do it ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Comics has so many problems. It's hard to say, because, with the marketing, well, first of all, you have to figure out what's your audience. And the question is, do people want to buy whatever kind of comic you're making? If I were going to make a comic right now, it would be probably a fantasy comic. But I know that people who want to read fantasy comics are a much smaller percentage of the overall market. So, you sort of have to figure where's your, like, what's that? And then how do you find the people? Like we just said before, you could just have it at a shop and that would be fine. But few people go there. You're not going to get it on a supermarket rack. So, is it conventions? Is it networking, like YouTube channels like we're doing here? It might be worth it to just hire a company that specializes in marketing to get yourself in front of people on, like on Instagram and Twitter and some of these other platforms. So,
see, that's something I'm strong right now. I just want to get my comic made, and then I got my second issue already in the works, and my toes are in the water for a standalone separate thing.
Nice.
Tangentially, it's set in the same world as Heroic Tales, but it doesn't really. It's about the comic books that the kids in Heroic Tales would read, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
It's more hokey and everything like that. But I just want to get these 3 projects done, and then I really, really want to put some energy into like a way of marketing. Like, I admit I don't know that, so I'm asking for help, advice, or from anybody. I don't know what to do. Matthew Creek, can I mention my comics website? Absolutely, you can. I want everybody to be successful, and I am of the opinion that if Keanu Reeves goes to crowdfunding and crowdfunds Berserk and makes $10 million, that just tells the normies that there's a thing called crowdfunding, and then I get to brag, hey, I'm on the same platform as Keanu Reeves. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that anybody buying Keanu Reeves's book is taking my money away. No money is owed to me. You know, so anything. TheNightSlayers.com. Okay, I'll put the link. Nightslayers.com. How's that? Oh, and I spelled it wrong because I'm a stupid person. So that's the name of your website. Go check it out. You know, I don't know. I think this could be great. This could be bad. But you know what?
Is it the Night Slayers?
Oh, it's the Night Slayers. Again, I put a guest appearance by my crazy cat. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Come here, Thor. I'm always trying to get him on camera, and he doesn't want to be on camera. Hey, Oscar. I was just talking about a project you and I work. Oscar, if you want to join us, if you got your camera situation fixed, here's the link. Well, if anybody wants to join us, come on in and talk. This is just, I've been sitting at home for 5 weeks now, going crazy.
Yeah. How much longer do you have?
So tomorrow I have an appointment with the specialist who's going to interpret the MRI and let me know if I'm healing properly.
Oh, good.
So I have a feeling everything's going well. Like, I'm in no pain. I have no mobility issues, no numbness or anything. So I think everything's going good. I've been meticulous about leaving this on. I'd rather deal with this excruciating inconvenience for 8 weeks than surgery on my neck, but that's the option. So tomorrow, I think the doctor will tell me, 2 more weeks in the brace, you know, and then you need surgery. And if it's surgery, who knows what it's going to be. I imagine that's going to be a long, more time out of work and whatever. But 2 more weeks in the brace, I think I could deal that, you know.
They're going to send you some physical therapy?
It's funny because I was like, I don't need that, but every time I take the brace off, my neck wobbles. Like my neck muscles have
atrophied a lot.
I feel like a bobblehead, and I get nervous. Like I have a plastic brace for the shower because this has cushions. And you don't really want to soak it wet and then have a soaking wet cushion stick it to you. But so I put on a plastic one. But lately I've been shaving because the stubble,
it's too itchy.
It just makes friction heat, and it just drives me crazy. So I shave, and then I get in the shower without the brace because I want all the shaving cream to come off. But I get nervous. But my wife, she's at work, so she ain't watching. I tell her everything's fine, but I do get nervous. I feel like wobbly, like that it could fall and like snap, and then I'm like a sausage. Just my head's just flapping around. So I don't know. They'll probably give me therapy, but what therapy other than like move your neck around?
No,
you know.
Well, they'll give you specific exercises for it and some stretches.
Thank you, Logic's Finest.
It usually takes a few weeks to build the muscles back up.
Right, and it's funny. I've been getting on the scale. I lost 22 pounds since the accident.
Dang!
But I've been sitting around doing nothing, and I realized I think it's muscle mass. You know, because I have a physical job, so I don't think because my pants are falling off me, you know. But I think it's muscle. Like right now, if anybody wants to fight me, you'd kick my ass right now. I lost it all.
So it's the John's Long Box diet plan.
It was 14 pounds because I literally weighed myself the day after I shaved. I was like, so that was the joke. I lost 14 pounds. My beard weighed 14 pounds. The beard's coming right back. Telepathic Bunny Cooper was goofing on me. He goes, "Is your wife going to make you keep the beard?" No, she wants the beard back. She wants the beard back. I want the beard back. I feel like Alfalfa. If he clipped off that thing, that's my personality. Like my face has no character. I just look like everybody else right now. I just realized I'm going to go to work a lot of these guys at work have never seen me without a beard, because the way it
They
works in
won't
my
know who you
trade,
are.
yeah, the way it works in my trade is you stay with the shop, and if the shop has
Mhm.
work, they keep you, but you don't get fired. You just kind of get laid off. Like, it's no
Yeah.
fault of your own. If it's a construction company, if there's nothing else to build, they don't need you. And
Right.
then you go to the hiring hall, and they're like, "Okay, you don't work for Yang Construction now. Now you work for J-Bot Construction." But fortunately, the shop that I've been has been busy, so I've been there with them for 7 years. And I've had the beard for 12. So I'm going to go to work without the beard, and then you're going to be like, who is this guy? Who is this guy?
Does that mean they're going to treat you like the new guy?
Yeah, probably. He's a kinder, gentler John. No, I'm a crazier. Yeah. I could see why comic book artists go nuts. Just imagine if
Sitting
your
home
job
all day.
and I've been saying this, and I think you and I had this conversation, because you're a gamer too, and a comic book guy too.
Mhm.
Gaming, not except for video games, like board gaming, role playing, you need other people, whether you're there in
Yep.
person or whether it's. But comic books, I don't need anybody to read my comics. That's what I do when nobody else is around. I read my comics. So just imagine that's your job, like the '50s bullpen where they were all going to Manhattan and 30 guys all drawing. Those days are 100 years ago. So you're just sitting home drawing. You got some music on, or you got your podcast on. Your wife comes down with a sandwich if you're lucky enough to be married. So I could see why comic book people go on Twitter and get weird. And I find
Yeah.
myself doing it too. And Marcus actually called me on it. It's like, John, you need to go back to work. Yeah, he was in what did you say? Only 16 days, and you had to go to therapy. He was in a coma after
Yeah.
COVID.
Well, you start losing muscle mass after 72 hours.
Oh,
So-
really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
It's fast.
Must have planned 100 more issues. Believe it or not, I purposely stopped myself after 10. I have lots of ideas, but I have 10 issues written in, either full scripts, index cards, or outlines. After 10, I have ideas that aren't written down yet, because maybe I'm going to need to change something. What if everybody's like, you know what? I like the Patriarch, but Mary Sue is where the comic is at. I got to pivot. So, and issue 10 is when the team forms, because I'm going to introduce all the characters in the backup stories. And then issue 10 is going to be the threat that they all need to get together to fight the team. And I didn't want to start with that because you don't care. Oh, John's world is going to get blown up. It's just another cosmic threat that's just going to blow up a world that I have no interest in. So I'm starting off small. And yes, I know that that's going to be the biggest critique, is like small stakes. Well, not to the person whose life got saved by the Patriarch. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at all those old comics too, the stakes weren't always monumental. Like, you have to have it somewhat relatable in terms of, like, if they're normal people just dialed up to 11 and they're dealing with things that maybe normal people can't do, but they're not like Galactus is going to eat your planet crazy.
Right.
Then, it makes a lot of sense. And then when you do have whoever that alien is, then, it's believable that now there's this challenge, and then things have to calm down again, and there has to be a new normal.
Right. Well, that's like I said, I have two criticisms about this. One is the color, but it is literally when Malibu took over the coloring. So they went from old school coloring to new school. So I don't think they got the fine details yet. The other thing is every issue is just a cosmic threat. Like they went from like the Celestials, and literally Celestials fighting the Watchers, to Galactus, to Doctor Doom, and now Hyperstorm. And every threat has to be one up higher than the next, to the point where it's like, slow down, fight Pace Pot Pete, just refocus. So yeah. And I need to address, Pete says, you think you're getting weird? Well, weird for me. It's all subjective, Pete. It's all subjective. Hey, Gary, did we schedule you coming on my channel? I forget if we actually put a date down. So just message me on Twitter. I've been bad about responding to people because I'm like losing my mind over here. You should meet with Rini. She's also obsessed with planning. Yeah, I love Rini. She's one of my favorite people, you know. And because I'm a 50-year-old man, I try not to message her all the time because I don't want it to get weird. Young, I don't care if he thinks I'm weird.
I know it.
He already knows it, yeah. Yo, which means Rick in the Walking Dead. Yeah, that it's funny that you said that because even I, with my limited knowledge of medical issues, knew that Rick waking up in The Walking Dead should have poured himself like a liquid onto the floor and then got eaten by zombies. But, you know.
Well, the other thing is, wasn't he supposed to be there for a month?
Yeah.
How are you going to be, if no one's attending to you, if no one's filling your body full of nutrients somehow, how are you going to survive for 30 days?
Right. Well, it's not like the zombie. So he was in a coma for a month, but it could have been 2 days ago.
I guess so.
Yeah. But still, a month in a coma, he should have been like,
he'd been dragging himself along. Yeah.
Like Urkel, you know, just knocking into everything. What are my thoughts on weaponized crabs? You dated Regina too? I didn't know you knew Regina. Hi Gary, good to see you. Oh, he did not message me, Gary. I'm not blowing anybody off. Believe me, the last thing I want to do is blow off anybody. It's just chalk it up to incompetence rather than malice. If I didn't set something up. Hey, hello, Dave Brink, another one of my favorite people. Come on in, Brett. Come on in. Yang doesn't bite anybody. He just looks like he would, but he's actually nice. So I'll put the link in the. I just got all of the genuine comics that I've missed. Not to put you on the spot, Yang, but do you read Perfect 10? Or
no.
Oh, it's a. Why didn't it go? Okay, there you go. Rumor has it a nurse stayed. Then you got to put it in the story. You know, you can't let the readers fill it on The Walking Dead. I could see like some like dedicated nurse or whatever. But anyway, back Genuine Comics. He has a Dave Brink. He has a comic called Perfect 10. To me, it is the best American style superhero comic, and yet it's made by a European. Because
isn't he Dutch?
Yeah. That's why I said European because I couldn't remember exactly which country. Yeah. So I went and matter of fact, they're right here, right on my top of my. I got Perfect 10 because I like the way it looked.
Oh, that does look pretty cool.
And then I got I might as well use my my secondary camera. I'll put this down. The surprise that I was saving for Yang. The Yang surprise.
Oh.
And I'll do this. And I also found out that I could do stuff like this. But these are genuine comics. These are issues that I was missing. I guess I got to.
Oh, wow.
So I just put it in order. So now I think I'm only missing one, but I just love this. Like my colorist is the same colorist that he's using for Perfect 10. So this is Earthling, issue 4, Crossworlds, issue 1. Power Trip issue 1. I had to get this because I just got Power Trip issue 2 in his latest offering. American Bliss issue 1 and Ajax the Awakening. So the only thing I think I'm missing is 1 to 3 of Earthling. So I got all of the whatchamacallem comics. And I might as well give my friend Mike a shout out. I got these comics. My buddy Paul and my buddy Mike just separately said, hey, I'm off. And yesterday we went to lunch. So I haven't seen Paul in a while. And these are guys that I role play with. These are my original role playing guys. And Mike is the creator of this comic. And this is his V&V character. So this is his character, Marshall Strong. He made a comic and he started this 10 years ago and then just put it in the shelf and forgot about it. And now that everybody was making comics, he's like, I should do this. So he Thunder Zone Comics, he made. So this is just the varied covers. I got to get the varied covers for my buddy's comic. But these are all my friends' characters. This is Mike's character, Marshall Strong. And I was going to put them in issue 1 of Heroic Tales, but then I said, these aren't my characters. I don't have the right. I thought it would get funny, you know? And then they were all mad at me that I didn't do it. This is my friend Paul's character. This is Magnum. He's like a mix between the Hulk and Magneto. This is the Spartan. I love this character. This is Mike's other character. This is Oni, my friend Jimmy's character. This is Kid Nemesis. No. This is Pinpoint. This is Mike's nephew's character. This is this guy's Eric's character who just disappeared. He just stopped showing up, and we never heard from him. He has like no online presence. We legitimately are concerned for him because he was sick. And then this is Mike's other character, and he just made a comic. And what I would like to do, because he's making a 6-issue series, when he's done with all 6 issues, he did his obligation to Thunderzone Comics. I was thinking of like redoing a few things to make the continuity match my comics, and then bringing it over to Longbox Comics.
Interesting. You know, you could also have the Patriarch's kids reading Thunderzone.
Well, Patriarch's kids read Top Comics and Premiere Comics, and that's
nice.
And that's going to tie into the comic that I'm working with. Where is he? With Oscar. So Oscar's been sending me designs for the top 10, who are the Top Comics 10 most popular superheroes, and that's comic is, like I've been saying, it's Love and Rockets meets Crisis on Infinite Earths. So I can't wait to show that. But I will spoil, because I'm a spoil happy crazy person. Oscar just sent me an image today, and I will find it and I will spoil it because I'm that crazy. Okay, here we go. How do I do this? Oh yeah, share screen and go. So this is one of the top 10. This is Silver Aged Bikini Girl.
Nice.
And we're purposely making him look old-fashioned because the comic itself is set in 1985, and they're about characters that debuted in the 40s and the 50s. So there's Golden Age Bikini Girl, there's Silver Age Bikini Girl, you know, and then so each character is going to have like 2 different versions.
In 1985, would you want to see a Golden Age Bikini Girl? You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yes, you do, because Oscar really drew her. I'm going to pull it down because nobody needs to see our private messages. But this is the Golden Age Bikini Girl. I will scroll up. Okay. And then he threw in a modern age. I said, no, not at all. But there's the Golden Age Bikini Girl.
Okay, so then she didn't age for 40 years.
It's different characters. Earth 1, Earth 2.
Oh, okay. That makes sense then.
Yeah. And then the modern, he just threw that in. I was like, no way. I need a girl with roller skates. Yeah. So this one, I said I didn't particularly like this because I wanted it to look more like Mahdi, you know. So I just said that the Golden Age Bikini Girl has red hair and a yellow bikini, and then I said that, but the Silver Age has blonde hair and red, because you got to give visual cues to go back and forth. And of course, the Silver Age one has a yellow polka dot bikini. You know, that's what I was. So I might have got the colors mixed up. But can you figure out what? Because I'm big with the powers have to match the name. So do you know what Bikini Girl's powers would be? And
are they the same? Are they all the same? Or
yeah, but all Bikini Girl has the same power. But what power would Bikini Girl have?
I'm gonna say to make young men's minds explode.
Well, yes, they do have that power, but that's because they're hot chicks in bikinis, which every girl has, whether or not they're superheroes or not.
Yeah,
but
not so superpower.
But what do you think her superpower that's tied to the name Bikini Girl would be? I'm just curious to see if I made it obvious.
Well, there's the Bikini Atoll. That would be my guess. Some sort of nuclear something.
She's got nuclear powers. She was on the beach vacationing at the No Bikini Atoll, and during the tests, and got nuclear meltdown powers. Keep in mind, this is supposed to be comic books in a
yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're goof. So that, like, I made a bunch of these characters for the name of the comic is called Eddie is Doomed, and the premise is Eddie is a 35-year-old comic book collector who lives in his parents' basement. I was on a stream, and I forget who I was with. Oh, by the way, hello, Brian. You kind of snapped right in the middle of my monologuing, and Tonic, and I just said, modern comics are so terrible. Oh, do you have any sound? Brian, I don't think I can hear you. You don't have any sound, Brian. So I was just joking around, and I said, yeah, I'm working on the worst comic book in the world. It's about a comic book collector who has to move out of his parents' basement. And then Tonic Mole messaged me and goes, that could be the greatest comic book ever made. And it just set the motions. So Tonic Mole is gonna draw the real world, and Oscar Carreno is gonna draw the comic book world. And I'm toying with the idea of just the comic book world being in color and then the real world being in black and white. So to literally make it Love and Rockets meets Crisis on Infinite Earths. Brian, can we hear you yet? No sound, no sound. We'll just look at your lovely face. That's we just need your lovely face. So I've been sending Oscar. That's not what I meant to do. I've been sending Oscar. So he wants. Oh, by the way, I might as well talk about this. Do the right thing over here. As I hit the wrong button. I don't want to share that. That's what I want to share. You know what I mean? There we go. But this is Oscar's comic. Oscar is the colorist on Rome Eternal. It's coming out.
Cool.
Oscar, when is this coming out? In November? Look at that coloring. Look at that.
Oh, it's sweet, man.
He didn't draw it. He didn't write it, but he's the colorist for that. And Oscar has done coloring for Heavy Metal, for Marvel, and me. He's the colorist for Unheroic Tales, and he's now the colorist for the Mary Sue story in Heroic Tales. And he will be the artist and colorist for Eddie is Doomed. Somebody says Modern Bikini Girl needs to be 500 pounds. Keep in mind,
Well,
it's modern in 1986. So even girls that were fat in 86 were still sexy and hot, you know.
Well, did you notice that they did that with Big Barda? I mean, I'm a big Barda fan, right? I mean, you're talking about like, you know, a 7 foot tall Glamazon, right? That was my waifu when I was a kid, right? And the modern Big Barda, in case you hadn't seen, is Big Barda.
Really?
They made her morbidly obese, yeah.
No. Big Barda is supposed to be like the muscle mommy. You know what I mean?
Yes. Like a 7 foot tall Glamazon, like Julie Strain or somebody like that, right? But no, you can't have sexy women in comics.
No. So, you know, keep in mind that my comic is supposed to be a guy who collects Golden Age and Silver Age comics. They said you have to have a gorilla and you have to have robots. So
damn right.
One of the characters, Oscar wrote Robot Ape, but this character is called Robot Gorilla. Talk about on the nose right there. But and Robot Gorilla is a robot gorilla. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. But he was designed by Ape X to be a bad guy, but sometimes he gets defeated and reprogrammed and becomes good. You know.
All depends on the input. All depends on what people are programming for.
But I am loving these designs by Oscar.
They're great. They're beautiful.
Here's another one. Here's my Doctor Strange character, the Mystery.
Oh, nice.
So that's
nice.
Golden Age and Silver Age Mystery. Not, you know, and I'm just trying to be careful not to show private DMs, because people who show private DMs on streams are the bad guys, no matter what.
Yeah, man.
This is Femfire. There is only a Silver Age. She was never a Golden Age version. So each one of these characters, believe it or not, has a backstory already. So
she's hot.
Yeah, she's hot.
Literally.
Oscar, I'm loving these designs. This is This is Thunder Girl, the teenage sidekick to Thunder Woman. There's no Golden Age version of her because sidekicks weren't really a Golden Age thing. So that's Thunder Girl. I'm spoiling all this, but I don't care. This is the last spoiler because this is the last that I have. But what I love about this is you can actually see my drawings and then what Oscar did. But this is Phenomenal Man, the Golden Age Phenomenal Man, the Silver Age Phenomenal Man, and then Oscar gives you a bargain for your price, which was nothing as of yet. He gave a modern age of Phenomenal Man and then Thunder Woman. So these are the main two. You know,
awesome.
So the mystery,
very cool.
Yeah. So there's going to be 10 heroes, and they're the top 10, And then, so you could imagine it's Crisis on Infinite Earths meets Love and Rockets. So poor Eddie is collecting comics. He wakes up. This is the escalator pitch because it's my show and I can take as much time as I want. He wakes up in the morning to his father. Look at this big box, and Eddie's like, oh wow. He opens up and it's a costume from the 1940s Adventures of Phenomenal Man show. And it's like, Dad, this is an authentic comic worn by, I forget the name of the actor that I made up. He's like, oh, look at this. And the father was like, wow, that was expensive. And he's like, Dad, it's a collector's item. What, you can't, I got a bidding war on eBay and blah, 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 blah. And the father's like, well, I guess this is a good time to tell you, your mom and sister are gone. Mom and sister died in a car accident. There's some back issue. He goes, and I've been retired. The father's a retired cop. He's like, I've been living here longer. All my friends are in Florida. The house is too big. I think it's time for me. You get your own place. I'm going to downsize and I'm going to move to Florida. So Eddie's like, how can you do this to me? Keep in mind, he's a manager of a supermarket. He's 35 years old. His basement is like a treasure museum of all things comic book. So now the rest of he goes to work. He's the boss. So he's like talking to the cashiers who don't care. He's talking to the stock boys who don't care, customers who don't care. And then he goes to work and he basically delegates everything and he just reads comic books all day. He's got like the perfect life. But now there's an upset. After work, he goes to the comic book store and he just starts complaining to his childhood friend who runs the comic book store. We all know that type. He's, kind of a slob, you know what I mean? And they're commiserating. He's like, oh man, you got that sweet basement. This guy lives in the back of the comic book store and everything like that, and then he's like, oh, by the way, did you get Doomed Earth? And this is 1986. The only way to make this work has to be pre-internet. So he's like, what's Doomed Earth? He's like, oh, it's Top Comics. They want to be more like Premier Comics. So they're going to get rid of all of the multiple Earths and streamline everything. There's going to be, so now he's just like, but this is my childhood. Like, so now his fictional world is ending and his real world is ending, and Eddie is doomed, and there you go. There's the escalator pitch for the comic. And it's going to be one issue. Like it's going to be oversized. It's got to be oversized, but it's going to be two artists back and forth between the real world, the story of the comic book world, and poor Eddie. And Eddie is doomed. He's the only and I want to do like pins and buttons, like we are all Eddie. I'm sympathetic to this poor guy because he's just the comic book collector. You know what I mean? He's just,
right.
Socially awkward. He's the stereotypical comic book. I can't wait to do this. And speaking of comic books, there's a comic book called Six Gun Gorilla that's available right now, right?
Yes, indeedy.
Where is? Oh, Fund My Comic.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I had a Indiegogo for it too. This is kind of like the continuation of that campaign because I shut down Indiegogo because Indiegogo shadow bans all my friends.
Yeah.
And they've never shadow banned me, but they shadow banned my friends. And now they added that shifty tip thing, right? Yeah. Where if you're not careful, you'll give them a $10 tip, not the creator, right? You give them a $5 to $10 tip. It's ridiculous. And well, I don't know. From my comic, it's like Luke built a canoe. We all need to grab an oar. Yep. I mean, I know that's a pretty played out no, but analogy. I 100% agree. As I knock over my camera, Luke is one of us. He absolutely is. Yep. He absolutely is, and that's why there's a campaign exclusive, a Fund My Comic exclusive cover by John Dillard. And there's also other cool stuff that you're going to get in that campaign that you wouldn't get elsewhere. Although the people that backed the previous Indiegogo campaign, they're going to get all that stuff too, because I treat my backers right. What can I say? They are our greatest resource.
I want to see this woman but all I keep getting is the director, Elia Kazan. So is it spelt right, Marcus? If because I don't think Big Barda was based on the director of all on the.
Yeah, it's not, no, it's not Elia. Yeah, no, it's not Elia.
Yeah, back to what you were saying. That's why I put the Pat Broderick cover is only on Fund My Comic.
Right.
And you could read that into it as you will, but right now, the only way to get the Michael T. Gilbert cover is on Kickstarter for 5 more days. And I'm going to do it Indiegogo because this is my first campaign. I don't know. People told me don't go on Fund My Comic. I made like $7,000 on Fund My Comic. I only made 1,000 on Kickstarter, and Indiegogo didn't start yet. So let's see.
There are a lot of people who don't want us using Fund My Comic. In fact, when Luke was about to launch, I told them, like, you understand, you're going to have some very, very powerful people like coming at you. Like, they're not going to like you doing this because they want to set up their own.
They're not powerful. They just think they're powerful.
Well, they're not powerful anymore, right?
Yeah.
At that time they were, though. At that time they were, and they could shut a campaign down like that. I had a Zoop campaign, for instance, that was very close to getting funded, and everywhere I went to promote it, their people were all up in the chats, talking about this person. What was her name again? Camilla Zhang. Yeah, I'll never forget that, right? Because it was all up in the chats. Camilla Zhang. I'm like, who is this? And then I came to find out that who she was. She was an SJW who had worked for
Kickstarter.
Kickstarter. She was the political commissar of Kickstarter. And to be honest, I didn't want to have anything to do with Kickstarter while she was around too.
Right.
If you have a political commissar, I don't want to deal with you.
Right. But here's the thing. She hadn't worked at Zoop in over a year.
Right. She left Kickstarter now.
Right.
And
it was like,
I have to laugh.
That's interesting.
What's his name? He did Batman White Light. Why can't I think of his name?
Sean Gordon Murphy.
He hired her to run his crowdfund, and then she bailed when the work actually started. So
right. Yeah, not exactly the most reliable person. But my point is that these are people that were planning on launching their own crowdfunding site, right? Like, you launch through our site and then promote your stuff, and that money that would normally be going, that percentage would normally be going to Indiegogo or Kickstarter, that goes to us. That money rightfully belongs to us. And then you have Luke come along, and I remember the conversations that we would have in the back rooms, after streams and that sort of a thing. Just the indie comics creators. And one of my friends, Matt, was like, do you think this is going to work? And I was like, no, I think it's going to fail, because he's going up against these really big guys. And I think that, no, it's not going to work. But we should still get behind it, because we at least have to try. And lo and behold, it is taking off, and it is working, and it is slowly building momentum. And I salute you, John, for launching on Fund My Comic, and I encourage all of my fellow indie to launch on there.
I was told don't do it on Fund My Comic, but at the same time, everybody was talking about Kickstarter. Nobody's going to back you because of like the boycott. And then I was told Indiegogo shadow bans. Not told. I actually saw the shadow ban with my friends. So I said, you know what? I want like a rocket launch. I want a home plot. What is it called? A launch
pad.
I wanted a launch pad that I knew I could trust.
Yes.
I could go back. So I did Fund My Comic first, and like I said, I got Luke's phone number. I messed up the day of my launch. I got a 404 error when you went to my comic. I'm like, oh my God. I tell this story all the time, but I called up Luke. I'm at work. It's 11:30. That's lunchtime for me. And I'm like, Luke, and he was having breakfast, and you could hear the dishes clinking. You could hear his family in the background. And he's like, okay, John, how's it going? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, shut the F up with this goddamn small talk. This is my freaking comic. And this guy's not taking it. So finally I go, are you going to fix it? He goes, John, I fixed it already. And I'm like, oh, okay. He was just making small talk because he was, he's a nice guy. But he fixed it already. But in my insanity, I missed it. So I was like, oh, I'm sorry. He's like, no, don't worry. He goes, John, I know you're stressed out. And then I also had a problem because I set up my payment wrong. So I wasn't capable of.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, how devastating is that? Luke was on with Stripe. I'm not joking, for 4 hours, we were on a conference call. He fixed it all because I didn't. Not only did I not know what to fix, I was mentally incapable of fixing it. I'm not perfect. Every once in a while, I do a freak out. I think 4 of them have been in public, and 3 of them have been my problem. One of them's not my problem. You know who you are. But the other 3, I caused them. I apologize. But so Luke was like, John, you're insane right now. I'll deal with it. And he was wonderful. And I was mean to him. I absolutely admit that I was mean to him.
Wow.
But he fixed it. And it was my fault. So you can't get that on Indiegogo. You can't get that on Kickstarter. So I'm really thinking in the future, I'm only going to be on Fund My Comic, because as of right now, I don't see, because my comic book isn't a nudie booby comic. So it's not setting Kickstarter on fire. And I really think that I kind of split my base up, because some people wanted all 4 of the covers, and now they got to pay shipping 3 different times. So that's something that I'm thinking about. And that's why I've been a little bit squirrely about right now is the only time. Trust me, I don't want to screw anybody off. If anybody wants to get all 4 covers, you don't want to pay $40 in shipping. You want to pay $10 in shipping. I will fix that. So that's something that I'm thinking about in the future. So,
oh man, always customer service. And that's the thing. People can get one-to-one customer service. I had a person in Shanghai that got a book from me, and it looked like it had been microwaved. Oh, is that Lainey Kazan?
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
That's who Big Barter was.
Yes.
According to Marcus, who's always right. And I can totally see that. There was other pictures. There were other pictures that I could not put on the screen. So if anybody wants to look for them themselves, this is the sexiest picture that I could put on screen.
Yeah.
So yes, that's what Big Barter should look like. A little bit thick.
Yep.
Oh, what is the word? Zaftig? Is that
Zaftig?
Yeah.
Zaftig.
Boom. Zaftig.
Yeah. Plump and juicy.
Plump and juicy. As the kids say today, that's thick. You know what I mean? But back in 1971, that was normal. That's what women look like.
Yes. That was absolutely the trend. If you look at pictures, for instance, of Elvira, Cassandra Peterson, when she was a dancer in Las Vegas, and she said, like people liked curves back then, right? We're not talking about women that are fat. We're talking about women that are just a little soft, cuddly looking.
I understand what Oscar's saying. We were in the same boat. Yeah. So again, I don't think, back to Keanu Reeves, I don't think Keanu Reeves making $1 billion on Berserker is taking any money away from me. No, this is America, guys. We got a lot of money.
Yeah. And if anything, a rising tide lifts all boats. I can honestly say I have never looked at my fellow indie creators and seen them as competition. That is to say, in a negative way, right? You could see them as competition in a positive way when they'll come out with something, especially maybe in terms of format, that makes you go, damn, I need to step up my game. Right?
I just want to say, if this is what Kirby's wife looks like, damn, Kirby stepped up his game. But Kirby was a man's man.
Yeah, he was.
And that's another thing missing from comics. That great story of Stan Lee just going up to another man's wife or fiance and be like, I want to marry you. And she called off the wedding and married Stan. That's cojones. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't see Tom Snyder doing it. John, whatever his name is,
Scott Snyder
and John.
Definitely not Tom King. That's for sure.
King.
No.
CIA Tom King, right? And actually, Kirby had this incident with the New York City Mafia, right? Where I think they sent some goons around to shake down his friend Will Eisner.
Yeah, I heard the story.
You heard the story, right? Yeah. And Kirby was like this little dude, right? And so he pulls up a chair and he gets up on the chair so that he's eye to eye with this guy. And if you think you can push my friend around, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they split. Because if there's one thing even the most hardened criminal in the world is terrified of, it's a lunatic.
Yeah. I will say this: I work with men's men. I'm a construction worker. I work with the big, gigantic guys are strong and scary. The little guys who stand up to the big guys, you don't fight them. Either they got nothing to lose, or they're nasty, or they know something. You know what I mean? Like, so you don't fight with a little guy. You know?
No. I'll take you off at the knees.
Here's the last thing I can spoil. That is Big Brother.
Oh, nice.
He's one of the characters in Eddie is Doomed. So as you can see, there will be a lot of superheroes. So, I asked the question. Do you think the name Bikini Girl with nuclear meltdown powers is a good match?
Yes.
Because I always say there's the triangle of superheroes. This is my, when I die someday, people will be lecturing online about the John's Long Box method of superheroes. The name, the costume, and the powers have to match. Now, just like a triangle could be, an acute triangle, an oblong triangle, or an equilateral, but there has to be some sort of connection. So the name Bikini Girl, from historically, is where they tested the nuclear bombs. So she has to have nuclear powers, but a bikini is also what we know as a bikini. So that, to me, again, if I could pat myself in the back, it fits. It works.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So, some people might not get it. Some people might not get it. But I think people that understand Golden Age comics, I think certainly will. It's a very Golden Agey concept.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going for. So, and again, not to get anybody mad, that's why I don't like Cable. It doesn't fit.
I don't
the name
like
doesn't fit the powers. The powers don't fit. I got telekinesis. My name is Cable, and I carry a big freaking gun.
I know. This was the Liefeld era. Every character had to have a gun and a sword, or a gun and two swords, or two guns and two swords, right? Because, and it was like, I know a lot of people are like 90s people in our scene, and I'm sorry, that's like when I kind of tuned out, because I was like, wait a second, aren't they mutants? Aren't they supposed to have superpowers? Aren't they supposed to not need guns and swords? But that was the 90s. What up, Vinny? Yeah. Yeah. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Vinny.
Will Eisner told that. It's true because Kirby didn't tell you. Somebody else told you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, man. Don't mess with crazy. No, that's absolutely true. Yeah. Even Bruce Lee said that, my God, he was asked, like, is there anybody you'd be afraid to fight? And he said, yeah. Who? A lunatic. Because they're unpredictable. He's like, if a guy's squaring up against me and he knows martial arts, I can like check out, get an idea of his stance, maybe what he's gonna do. But a lunatic will just run up to you and like, bite your nose off.
You guys want eye patches? Okay.
Eye patches?
I got my eye patches. There you go. Eye patches for everybody. For my Odin costume. My Odin costume is always in reach, guys. Say what you will. My spear's over there. My helmet's over here.
Do you have?
I understand people like Cable, and I don't mean any disrespect. It's just I just find that it doesn't work for me for super. So I and who was I talking to that said I think it was Dave Brink, that it's harder and harder and harder to come up with good superhero names, and I got tight-lipped because every time Dave Brink comes out with another comic book, he's using a name that I already thought, who's been in my world for 20 years. But he's quicker than me, so he deserves it. I had to change the name of my characters twice because of Dave. But I'm loving it. He's doing the right thing. But there's still a lot of good superhero names. It just takes work. But the thing, the name, the powers, and the costume have to match. And then I add, I add a symbol. Like, to me, because of my world, the way it works, the name and the symbol causes a focus. So it's almost like, powers are like psionic, but psionic is mental, so you need a focus. So like that's why I'm real happy with the patriarch symbol. It's a iconic symbol that you can put on a poster or a sticker or whatever, a coin, but you'll see sooner or later that there'll be an in-world reason for that, because you need a focus. So like there could be a John Constantine type character in my world, but there's no way he's going to make it to the upper echelons because he's not focused. And I'm being vague on purpose.
Right. And also the whole Laurel. That's an image that people are familiar with,
Means
mostly from the Romans, I
Well,
guess.
that's just it. The patriarch. That's the
Yeah.
he's male, and men always think about the Roman Empire. It's all
Mhm.
Right.
it's all thought up. Let me see if there's anything else I could spoil. I don't know. I get a kick out of spoiling stuff. So oh, Yang, you have a campaign that you're working on. How close to you are for your stuff getting released?
Well, it
While you're
is.
talking, I'm just gonna grab soda.
It's set to launch on September 27. Empire of the Undying Sun, which is a campaign guide for the D&D 5th edition. It is a horror campaign. We've got all sorts of new add-ons. We've got the Astral Realm is always boring, so it's become the Dream Realm, and there's a way that your characters can interact with other people and gods in their dreams, even to the point where they might have a Freddy Krueger running around stalking them as they sleep,
Uh-oh.
or they might become somebody else's Freddy Krueger.
Ah.
Okay. I like
So-
that. I'm just looking for other stuff I could spoil.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like when you're working on something, you get so jazzed up about it that you want to share as much
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you, how much I wanted to reveal that there was a Zeppelin in issue 7 of Six Gun Gorilla, but I had to keep that secret because it's supposed to be a surprise. But now it's just like, okay, 7's out. I can just do Zeppelin. Zeppelin's on the cover. It's all good.
And there's Zeppelins in Heroic Tales right on the second page, and that's a big plot point for later on.
Nice.
But this is Oscar's colors, because Oscar's also looking for work. Very professional, very quick, very easy to
Beautiful.
work with, and we'd be fools not to hire him. Look at this. So this is the cover for Mary Sue, the secondary story in
Nice.
Heroic Tales #2.
Very
And
cool.
when Renzo did the script, and I said, he goes, "What do you want me to start?" I said, "Yeah, but do me a favor, start with the cover first, so I could tease out the cover." And then he read the script. He goes, "Do you remember Fantastic Four 201?" I was like, "Exactly." You know what I mean? That's how well he knows comic books. If you remember Fantastic Four, it was divided up into 4 panels. So these are all things that will happen in the comic. None of this symbolic cover nonsense that you don't see anymore. But anyway, I just like spoiling because I'm lonely, guys. I'm stir crazy. So you're doing a campaign for 5th edition D&D now.
Yes.
D&D now. Again, this is my. I stopped here with D&D. This is as far as I went, and people, and I wish I could find. There was a website that talked about the edition wars, and they wrote about it. Like it was tongue in cheek, but they talked about like the wars, and then the Civil War. People went to Pathfinder and blah blah blah. They explained it to somebody like me who missed out on it. What are your thoughts on that? And Brian, do you play D&D?
Oh man, I haven't played in years, but
Okay.
I was into it when I was like 13 years old
Okay.
and up. And about 10 years ago, I got back into it, and because a friend of mine asked me to DM a campaign for his kids. And let me tell you, that was the most stressed out I was ever as a DM. First of all, because I hadn't done it in a long time, and second, because I was thinking, oh my God, if this sucks, these kids are going to be turned off to Dungeons and Dragons forever. So I felt this enormous responsibility to make sure that I ran a good campaign for them and that they had fun. But it ended up working out well. So yeah, and I've got tons of miniatures. I see you got the Conan, 2 of the Conan skirmish games behind you.
I kickstarted it, so I got all the extra Kickstarter.
Oh, you lucky man! You lucky man.
So I got one box that's all Conan, and then the other stuff that's like hundreds and hundreds of dollars on eBay. So Yang, I asked you a question and then didn't let you answer.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. The Twitter Dungeons and Dragons crowd is a lot like the comics indie crowd right now, where you have like the OSR guys who love the originals, and then you have people who like the more modern stuff. But it's interesting because I think in both groups of people, you end up with people who don't really read the books. Like they don't read the player's guide, they don't read the dungeon master's guide, so they're like constantly just making up rules on the fly,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
they don't
yeah.
understand. Like, you know, somebody will say like, "Oh, this really needs this feature or that feature." It's like, well, you know, it's in the book, right? You just go there and use the one that comes with the game. So we live in a fantastic time. The one nice thing about tabletop role-playing games as opposed to comics, with comics, if Cyclops and Jean Grey and Wolverine are in a throuple, you're just out of luck with X-Men. Whereas the tabletop game, you can say, well, I like this one, but I don't like that one. And you can pick whatever works best for you and your friends. And then like, that's just the way it is.
Right. I'm a pain in the neck. I didn't like my friends knowing stuff beforehand. Like, so, and I kind of wanted to control the information in the world. So I made up my own pantheon of gods,
Mhm.
you know, which are very similar to, you know, Tolkien's world, because, you know, when you're 12 years old and you're obsessed.
Yeah, yeah.
But my friends didn't know Tolkien's world, so it was new to them. But like, I didn't want them opening up the monster manual and like, oh, it displays a beast. It's really 3 feet over here to the left. So like, I rewrote a lot of the monsters. So
Yeah.
it was, oh, they recognize it as a displacer beast, but it worked a little bit different. You know, mind flayers are my favorite monster. So like, what they thought were mind flayers, if they studied, so after a while they were just like, don't bother studying the monster manuals. It's not going to work. You know. So
Yeah,
I'm not kind of.
it's always fun to mess with people's perceptions. I've got an area of my game where you're in this giant black pyramid, and you're stuck in there, and you're in there with other people and other creatures, and the whole game, you've never come across a goblin, and finally you see goblins. And for anyone who doesn't play the game, goblins are like what you fight when you're starting the game.
Yeah,
You know, by the time you're level 9, they're, you know, it would be too easy for one player to just kill a whole tribe of them. But I've made them cannibal goblins that swarm you like piranhas and just try to strip the flesh off your bones. So
great.
it tends to take
In-
people
in
by
my world,
surprise.
goblins are like fey-like creatures. You know,
Mhm.
they're, you know, because originally in real mythology, goblins are
Yeah.
like evil fey, and
Mhm.
all fey
Yeah.
are insect-based in my world. You know, fairy
Oh.
dust. You know, like, oh, we got fairy dust. You know how a moth has that dust on it?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's fairy dust. So these fey creatures, they have this fairy dust, and the fairy dust in the moonlight creates a glamour, so they look human. So goblins look humanoid, but they're the equivalent of locusts. So
Oh, very cool.
they attack en masse.
Great.
They have carapaces. They have vestigial wings. They don't really fly. So if you poison them with iron, and that'll interfere with the pixie dust's ability to convert moonlight into glass, then you could see them as they really are. You know, and that's
Ah.
what a hag is. It's a fey that's been contaminated by iron, so it looks ugly because you see the insect, like the big bulbous eyes and everything.
Right.
Like
The
So
real thing, not the illusion that's created by the glamour.
Yeah. And so
That's cool.
you could collect some of this dust and use it for enchantments and everything like that. So I like to have the D&D monsters, but they'll be my spin-off. Now, my favorite monster, I already talked about mind flayers, but I think that's like a trademarked thing. So in Heroic Tales, there's a big the mind flayers are the cause of Soviet Union, because the mind flayers are all psionic. They're all psionically linked. They're natural commies, and they cause communism to flourish. You know, so there's this underground realm of mind flayers that are like basically. So I can't use that story unless I fundamentally change mind flayers, because I think Illithids and mind flayers are trademarked to their career. So I'll make another alien race. But orcs, I was like, everybody just fights orcs. They don't care. Poor orc. When I saw Bone Tomahawk,
Oof.
those are
Oh, yeah.
orcs. Those are orcs. They're horrible, to the point even my friends, like sometimes the superheroes, will get transported to my D&D world. They don't want to be anywhere near orcs. They're cannibals. What they do to their women is disgusting. Like it, and forget about it. If you see a female orc, we talked about a little guy. If you see female orcs, they're just like, kill it first. Don't even talk to it, because in order to survive in that world as a female orc, they have to be the nastiest, meanest, most horrible, devious things ever, to the point where even the orcs were afraid of them. So anybody watching this, watch the movie Bone Tomahawk. Do not watch it with your children. Do not watch
Definitely
it.
not.
In fact, don't watch this movie. But that's what orcs are. And you know, and I like to think that if I ever, because now I see these new D&D guys with like, orcs are just misunderstood. I want don't. No, you don't. If I had a player who wanted to be an orc like my orcs, I don't want that person in my house.
Yes.
Well, it gets even worse. They're coming out with a new D&D this year, and they released some images. For the last few years, people have said orcs are black-coated people. That's why they can't be evil. So in the new book, they have like a whole band of orcs, and they're all wearing sombreros and ponchos.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like, what?
They're
So they weren't
now,
black, they're Mexicans? What's going on?
Yeah.
That's on you, buddy. I never thought that.
It's insane. It's insane. One of the images I saw, because once D&D went woke, I stopped buying their crap, and I was like,
I have a zero
forget
tolerance
about it.
policy.
Zero tolerance.
Yeah.
Zero tolerance, right? And one of the images I saw was of somebody that was in a group, a team, and they were in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I did not know that dungeons were wheelchair accessible.
Well, the
I
way
did not know that dungeons, were. It's like, imagine like you're an evil wizard, right? And you've got this awesome dungeon, and then the law comes down. It's like, yo, you got to make your dungeon wheelchair accessible, bro. You got to have ramps.
Well, you
gotta
never
have,
heard of dungeon
toilets
OSHA?
and everything.
There's no dungeon OSHA in your world?
No. And then there's this really strange notion that, I mean, I understand that some people, when they're gaming, they like to play an idealized version of themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've never understood that personally, because I want to be something as far away from me as possible.
Right?
Exactly.
I don't want to be me.
No, I want to be a barbarian.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be a paladin. I want to be somebody that's not me, because that's the whole fun, right? Is that you're playing somebody else to get away from yourself. But people want to play idealized versions of themselves. I get it, but it's just cartoonish in terms of like the wokeness, and it's like, oh well, we want to be inclusive, and I'm just like, well, I'm all about inclusivity and all that. That's cool. But do you not realize that what you're doing here is ridiculous? And also then it's the whole, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And that's exactly what's happened, right? So SJW's declared orcs are black people, right?
So check this out.
Yep.
You made me think of this.
So that's just the way it is now.
I'm gonna make this big for a second. But this is, for those of you who don't know, this is the Village Vigilantes. This is the actual rule book. And check out this paragraph.
Oh my God, that's the original one too, man. That's old.
Brian, I'm a lunatic. I'm not joking. I bought
I got all this shit too, bro.
I bought 10 copies in the 80s because I was afraid I would never be able. This is probably my fourth copy, because I just go through them and ruin them. Matter of fact, this book is falling off now. So I think I have like 5 copies left. But here, paragraph 3. Players, please stop.
I know I have the same problem with my camera.
Players take the roles of superheroes, but unlike most role-playing games, in V&V, the character used by the player is himself, with the addition of superpowers. So according to the rules, Brian Kristow is Brian Kristow, but with flaming power. This was my surprise that I spoiled. I was going to show this off. Arts and
Oh, nice.
That might be a whole video in among itself. But how horrible would it be to play a role-playing game as yourself?
It'd be terrible. It would be awful.
I don't want to be myself.
I don't want to be myself.
And I don't want to be an 11-year-old. I want to have a cool car. I want to have my own apartment. I want to be flying into outer space.
Right.
I didn't want to play myself.
But wasn't that the pitch for The Sims? Like you're just playing normal people who like you have to send your character to job, and
Yeah,
but then they also have DLC where you can have vampires, right? So they'll do. I mean, I've never played any of the Sims games, but they have little things where you can, you can turn them into fantasy characters and that sort of a thing. And I think that sort of a thing is fine. It just doesn't interest me at all. And part of role playing, one of the things why it was, I thought when I was growing up, I was a much better character builder than football, was because you're putting yourself in the shoes of another person, right? You're imagining yourself as another person. Not
Right.
what would I do? What would they do?
Right.
Right.
And it's funny
That
because
helps create empathy.
I had a group of role players, and Yang, I bet you did too, that got so into their characters that they would feud. And
Yeah,
sure.
one of the characters just didn't get it. He just wanted to cause chaos.
Well, yeah, those
We were
players.
role playing as a
Yeah.
pirate, so I
Yeah.
used the same setting. So we were playing in the age of pirates. So they're going around the Spanish Main, and he was the last. He missed the first couple sessions, so he joins the crew. Everybody else got their roles. My friend Jimmy was the cook. That his character was amazing. Cookie, he's the greatest role player ever. He gets into the character. One of the characters he was a fop. He was just this rich guy pretending to be a pirate.
Look at Dandy. Yeah.
And my friend Donna, her character was just a drunk. And the more that she was playing a guy, the more he drank, the more he wanted to fight. So everybody would like keep him away from the booze. And it was just a lot of fun. And then Daniel joined, and Daniel just wanted to cause chaos. Every one of his characters, the chaos agent. So he's going around like making dynamite throughout the ship. And then they got discovered. And he's like, okay, guys, let's have a mutiny. They're trying to throw me overboard. And Jimmy was like, who are you? Like,
Right.
they were role playing their characters. Cookie had a good position. The fop was being taken seriously. Like they bought his act. They're not going to ruin this for the new guy who literally showed up 2 days ago. And he was just like, and Donna was like, Daniel, we're role playing our characters. You're not giving us anything to. And he literally walked the plank and got tossed into the water, and his character was killed. You know what I mean? Because
rightfully
the
so.
characters do.
Right. And the thing is, it's like you do get those players where it's just like, well, I'm behaving like an asshole because my character's an asshole.
Right.
Well, there are different ways to do that, right?
Yeah.
You can do that in a way that's not disruptive. You can have them making snide comments, for instance, right? You can have them acting in a certain way, not so much in terms of action, right? But maybe in a little bit of personality. But then you have the people that just want to come in and they just want to fuck everything up and destroy everything.
And then
But they don't realize they're fucking
players,
with the DM, and we can drop a 16-ton weight on their head anytime we want.
Well, I try not to dissuade people from making up the characters they want, but I also like to know that there's consequences to their actions. If you made up a D&D character who is in a wheelchair, I'm not going to tell you no, but you're not making it to second level.
Right.
And I don't know about like have you ever walked through a forest? I'm not pushing you through the wheelchair.
Well, now the forests are wheelchair accessible. And once again, it's not like I have anything against people in wheelchairs, right? It's just like, even if you were, let's say you're physically handicapped, why would you want to play a physically handicapped person in a fantasy game?
Well, it might be fun to be a deaf guy.
Sure. Right. Or blind, like Satoichi.
I played a superhero character. Part of his origin is he got his throat slit.
Yeah.
So he couldn't talk. So I didn't learn sign language, but the character learned sign language. Right. You know what I mean? And and then my friend played a character that was blind, but he had sonic senses. And I'll never forget the first adventure. He ran off to get the antidote because somebody was poisoned. And I didn't say nothing. He ran into the lab and he grabbed the medicine and he came back. And I'm like, so how do you know it's the medicine? How do you know it's the antidote? And he was like, he got so caught up in saving the NPC that so I was just like, okay, how many vials do you think were in that cabinet? What's a good number? And he was like, 48. So okay, so it was a 1 out of 48 chance. But it was like, oh yeah, I want to be blind, but I don't want to have the consequences of being blind.
Right.
I would be in a wheelchair, but then the world has to evolve to mine. I personally think it would be fun to play a character in a superhero world in a wheelchair. It didn't stop Xavier.
Right.
But, and then my friend, the same one, Donna, she made up a character. We were street level vigilantes. So everybody was the Punisher.
Oh, God.
She basically made up Oracle. So she was the one that, and she quickly realized that she was an NPC.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
Oracle is a great character, but you don't want to be Oracle in a superhero world. Or I'm going to sit here and work the switchboard while you guys are out, you know.
Right. Gallivanting and having
So at the end of
adventures.
the adventure, she goes, I like my character, but I think my next character's expertise is going to be gunfighting. I was like, yeah, okay.
Right.
I also, a guy who just never made it, we were doing superheroes, and he was a shadow man. He had light powers and darkness powers, whatever, but he was working with me. So he could fly, he could turn into a shadow, he could cast darkness, shoot laser beams. And then he defeated an NPC and took his machine gun and like refused, like, oh, this is part of my. I'm like, you could shoot lasers. Why do you need a machine gun?
Right.
Like,
Right.
Have you? Oh, because it cost 1 power point to shoot laser beams. And I'm like, yeah, but the Human Torch doesn't carry a machine gun.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you know.
The Shadow carries,
Right. Yeah,
dual
but
45s, which was
it's
the
laser.
standard for the pulp years. Yeah.
And then when he turned into shadow form, the gun fell through him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Gun doesn't turn to shadow.
Right.
These people were never fans. They just want to put. Yeah, I think
There
I was.
it is.
Yeah,
There it is.
Yep.
That's exactly right. They move into what they do is they go from hobby to hobby to hobby. You know, like it's a trope in science fiction, right? Where you have the evil alien race, possibly humans in some stories, that go from planet to planet and, suck up all their resources, move to the next, move to the next, move to the next. They've gone after hobby after hobby after hobby, right? And it's like when they started going after anime, I was just like, you know what? I'm glad they're messing with your stuff now.
Yeah,
Because you didn't stand up when they came for my stuff.
It's
right.
I made a joke years ago.
Warned you guys.
I called them the Annihilation Wave. If you remember Annihilus from the Fantastic Four.
Yes, of course, from the negative zone. Yeah, man.
But
yeah,
we were talking. Who was I talking to? But we were talking about like, oh, I love Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons. I've always loved Dungeons, but Gary Gygax is a homophobic, racist, bigot, blah 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 blah. And then they go, and I'm like, well, then go find another game.
Yes.
Go find
no. But that's just it. It's the same thing with the heroes. It's just like, well, why don't you create a new hero that's gay? Why don't you create a new hero that's a person of color?
Because they don't want to spend 40 years
that
building
one.
the character.
Exactly.
I call that stolen gravitas. You can't.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Like Steve Rogers, Captain America, has a gravitas to this character. Everybody, including your grandmother,
Heavy
knows
duty.
who Captain America is.
Yeah.
He's an iconic character. I hate that word iconic, but
True.
and then all of a sudden race swatch as Phil Moskowitz, guy in a wheelchair, Captain America. No, you're just stealing the gravitas of Steve Rogers, Captain America, and inserting him on this. That character needs to earn it.
Yeah.
That's why Kamala Khan or Spider-Gwen, these are stolen gravitas characters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's what they demand. That's what they demand. They're like, no, it has to be this character. And, I mean, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know, that when the Marvel movies, the first wave came out, that the comic industry absolutely missed the most golden opportunity of all time, right? Because I don't think they were going to get any new fans, or not many, but they were going to get a bunch of old fans back. And then the old fans were like, hey, man.
I'll say that they were going to get new fans because my buddy was working. He had a comic book store. He said once a week, a family would come in. Maybe the dad got comic books as a kid, but the children never got comics. And they're like, oh, man, we just saw Iron Man. Rodney Downey Jr. was perfect as Iron Man. The kids are all excited. Let's get an Iron Man comic. And like, oh, this is Iron Man. It's Riri Williams.
Yeah, it's a 15-year-old black
girl
who stole the armor.
Yeah.
Like, well, where's Iron Man? I don't know. I'm not allowed to say where Iron Man is because then I'll be called a racist bigot. So then, like, okay, you know what? I'll go to Thor.
Yeah,
Chris Hemsworth is good. And it's not only is Jane Foster Thor, but she also has cancer. It's like,
yes,
all right, we're gonna pick up a pack of Pokemon cards and never come back here again.
Right.
You said it happened every week.
Yeah.
Now, Mark, and they're doing it on purpose because Deadpool just came out.
Yeah.
And Deadpool came out on a Friday. That Friday, the new Deadpool comic. Deadpool's dead, and there's a female Deadpool.
Yeah.
It's fine. I don't
because it's not even about it's. It seems to me like they don't even care about actually making money. It seems to me like they don't actually care about making comic books that people will actually read.
Well, if
Manga,
Marvel
of
was
course,
independent
is
like it
eating
was,
their lunch,
right? Because
and
they must be
they make comics for
subsidized by
everyone.
Disney. You know, Disney must be floating their losses. But if Marvel was independent like it used to be,
Yeah.
you better believe there'd be more
Oh
response.
yeah.
But Yang,
Yeah.
was it just you and I talking the other day about when Batman came out in 1989 that we went into a movie theater and there was a
think so, yeah.
cardboard stand with Batman comics. There was Batman cups. There was a
Yep.
plastic Batman in the movie theater.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
know,
They could have done the same
That's
thing.
what should have happened.
There was
And
Matchbox
supermarkets
cars.
too. If they had cheap, affordable, like newsprint comics, reprints, right?
Yep.
The supermarket checkout lanes, like little kids, love candy and comic books. The kids would be like, "Ooh, like mom, can I get that? Can I get this?" And like, like, "Oh, Captain America, Iron Man. Okay, well, how much is it? $2."
Yeah, with the chain from the
Done.
change left over from a $20 bill
Yep.
from getting milk,
Yeah.
bread, and soda.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
I got my comic books. My mom would buy a pack of Ken
Yeah.
Canes. It was $1.75. I had 25 cents left over. I bought a comic book.
Yes. Yes. Because back then comic books were everywhere. You wouldn't even find them at the supermarket, right? Like the Gold Key and the Charlton comics, especially Gold Key, where
Mhm.
you would buy you'd get a
This is
bag,
all the older
literally a bag
stuff.
full of
Yeah.
comic books. Yeah. And
Morgan-
that's all gone.
Orb and I you were the one that we were talking about. Like, I love Dungeons and Dragons, but Gary Gygax says, then you know what? Make your own stuff, and you don't even want to role play. They just want to make up. And this, Yang, could you explain to me this phenomenon of Session Zero? I started reading about it and I got disgusted. We scared away Brian.
Well, okay. So Session Zero, originally it's just everyone gets together and everyone's going to roll up their character together. And especially when you have new players, you might have to have the person running the game, the DM, like help them with how to make it. And then, depending, you might do like a little combat thing so that people who've never played so they can understand, or you might start it where like, okay, everyone ends up at this place where they form a group or something. But then like it's gotten out of control where, they were floating around this form a while ago where you're supposed to check off the things you don't like. Now, I love that.
That's what I saw. And that's when I know.
Oh, shit.
I love that form because it lets me know who I don't want at my table. So there's even some simple things
Now,
like
I'm Googling a Session Zero form just to see if I can find it.
no.
or it might be consent form. I'm not sure what they're calling it, but there would be things like you check off things that you hate. So, for example, one of them was you're afraid of spiders. Well, if I'm running raid on the Spider Temple, then maybe this isn't the game for you. I'm not changing my game to suit you. But if you're okay, if you can get through this checklist and don't check anything off, then great, you're good to go.
Right. But also it's like, oh, I know this player is afraid of spiders, right? So I'm going to have some spiders in there because I want to make them afraid.
Spiders.
Exactly, right? Like Indiana Jones or in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, like snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? Right? But yeah, I guess you need trigger warnings, right?
Because exactly.
It's madness. It's a form of like mental illness, of like mass madness. And unfortunately, those are the people that are making the rules right now. I was just watching a video about Henry Cavill and how it looks like his Warhammer 40K series is not going to happen because he's not going to let them violate the lore. Right. And it's like in his contract where he's going to be able to just, step out, right? That they're not going to be able to force him because, of course, look at what happened to The Witcher, right? He doesn't want to have to go through that again.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Oh my. Oh, God.
I printed out one of these with one of my last group fell apart during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 50 then, but most of the people in my group were like in their late 20s, early 30s. And I printed this out as a joke. And I just said, okay, guys, let's do this. They actually started filling it out and took it seriously. I was like, guys, this is a freaking joke. This is,
Yeah. Well, you
Because-
can't tell the difference between satire and reality anymore. That line has not just been blurred, it's been blown the fuck up.
So here we got like these are big no-nos. Like, how do you feel? Body horror, bugs, blood, gore, relationships, romance, fade to blacks, homophobia, transphobia. Yeah, I want to know homophobia in the halfling culture. Are your orcs transphobic because they could raid and destroy an entire hobgoblin village? But if they're transphobic, I don't want to deal with it. Mental, physical abuse, abortion, cancer. That's really a topic that's going to pop up with my elves.
Like harm to animals, like that's something that's a no-go for me. I can't I can't deal with it, right? But how is that going to come? I mean, so the characters can't go bow hunting?
Are dire wolves animals? So they
exactly. Yeah.
Do you want the G up to follow up? I don't know. It's like if you want that, like one of the things in my fantasy world, it's the halfling people are basically enslaved. Like, and what do you think you would use halfling slaves for? They're not good manual labor. They're you do not want to be a halfling in my world because it's a horrible world to be in.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're ruled by the fairies, the fae. They're these 7 foot tall. They're insects in the real world, but they appear as you. The elves don't like anybody else. They stay off by themselves. It's a harsh world. The insects have no concern for humanity. That just like we wouldn't if for insects. So they use. They're like mosquitoes. The fae capture halflings and inject them with eggs, and the larvae come out of the halflings. You know what I mean? That's what they use for. Like nobody nice in PC is going to play my fantasy game. It's a horrible. And then forget about the orcs. They're eating everybody.
Right. Well, consider this. I mean, you know me. I'm a horror guy, right?
Yeah.
And horror is the vodka of genres. It mixes with everything. Yeah. But one of the things it especially mixes well with is high fantasy.
Yep.
Robert E. Howard knew this, for instance, right? A lot of horror in his story. Fritz Leiber understood this. Tolkien even understood this, right? Although you never get to see inside Mordor, right? You do kind of get an idea. Certainly your imagination starts running. Like what is the interior of Mordor like? It cannot be a nice place.
Keep in mind, Mordor, isn't it German for murder? Like
Mordor.
I'm not even joking. Mordor basically translates as murder.
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I do speak German, but my German isn't exactly perfect. Let me look that up really quick because now it's going to drive me crazy.
The Ravenloft campaign was basically Anne Rice, right? It was supposed to be like Anne Rice meets D&D.
Oh, well, it wasn't. No, it was more like Dracula, really. Basically, your D&D characters go to Dracula's castle, and it's an absolute freaking nightmare. it's a bad place. If
something isn't to your liking, then it's not made for you. That's okay. Go find something else that is made for you. I forget
what happened to that attitude.
Like, he goes, Hallmark movies. Let's get more men into Hallmark movies, and then we'll get more like violence and gunfighting and big old booby girls in bikinis and violence, because I've always liked Hallmark movies.
I can get behind
Hallmark.
Chick flicks. Yeah, I mean, look, we've all had to
I can get behind you that idea.
Yeah.
Look,
we've all watched Hallmark movies, and you know what? I don't want them to change because she likes them, she enjoys them.
Right.
Happy watching them, and I'll watch them with her because it's like just like an easy night. It's like, oh, we're gonna have dinner. We're gonna watch Hallmark. There's gonna be no fighting. There's gonna be no politics. It's just like, oh, me and my wife are just gonna de-stress tonight and have a really pleasant night. Why would I want that to change? And then like we'll go watch a superhero movie. She knows what she's gonna get. Why do we change that? Yeah. So yes, if it's not to your liking, then change it.
But they don't see it that way. They don't see it that way. Their attitude is like, no, we're going to control what you. But keep in mind, this is why
Because
they're so
the
authoritarian.
great generation of kids who were never spanked, they were never bullied, they were getting participation trophies. The whole world revolves around them. When I was a teacher back in 2000, the principal told us that the main thing to teach these kids is to help them with their self-esteem. And even back then, I was like, no, these kids have if anything, we got to knock their self-esteem down. And I was looked at like a monster. I said, no, we got to teach these kids to do math. We got to teach these kids to their self-esteem. That's not my job. I'm a school, and everybody, this was my education classes. They looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, no. And also, I was the male in the education class.
Oh,
they all looked at me like I was crazy. I said, no, F these little kids' self-esteem. I'm not their mommy. I'm not their daddy. I'm there to make them read, do math, learn history, and that's it. Like values and stuff is not. And my students never knew my first name. They asked me if I had a girlfriend. I said, that's none of your business. And now these kids grow up. They were taught from 2000 on that your self-esteem, and now they join stuff. Everything has to revolve around them.
And keep in mind, their self-esteem is for shit, right? It's for shit. A lot of people are, I understand why people bag on the Zoomers, right, and the millennials, but especially on those Zoomers. But you have to have compassion for these kids because this was done to them, right? This was done to them. Their society failed them. Their parents failed them.
Yep.
Their institutions failed them.
Well, why? Like, get back to The Witcher. Why would you take the Witcher property and change it? Because it's egotism. Like I keep saying, like you don't change Kirby. You don't have the right to change Kirby. Kirby was a genius. To me, and I'm not even exaggerating. Kirby and Stan Lee, these are the American Leonardo da Vinci's and Goya. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
I know the rest of art people are going to poo-poo me, but I'm not even joking. We got like great people throughout. I play a lot of Civilization, so like great people will pop up. Stan Lee is a great person. Like he transcends his like Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko. I'll even say John Byrne. And who are you?
So many creators.
Like who are you, Madeline de Visaggio, to change?
Right.
And who are you, Kevin Feige, to change?
Well, I mean, I got to know Dennis O'Neil a little bit before he passed away, and he
was the end of that era. When
very much so.
Was the book end of great comic book era.
Right. And he told the story about A Death in the Family when they killed off Robin, and how he went to like a deli to get his lunch, and the guy behind the counter was like, "Hey, everybody, this is the guy who killed Robin." And all these heads turned and stared at him. And he said that was the moment where he really understood that what their job is as comic creators is to be custodians of folklore. That when you get that flame of Batman or Superman passed to you, you are the person that tends to that flame, keeps it alive, right? Do you want to do your own little thing with it? Cool. Do you want to leave your own little mark on it? That's fine, but that should come naturally, right? Not something that's even necessarily intentional, right? So you do your thing, and then you pass it on to the next person.
I'll go on and saying is like, if Yang, did you ever want to write comics or anything? I know you're not an artist.
Yeah, of course.
Who would be your guy to write?
If I had to write a pre-made character?
Yeah, like if you're 16 years old, you just submitted to Marvel and DC, and they said you're hired, kid. I like your. Who would be your guy?
I like the cut of your jib, kid.
It would have been a Fantastic Four.
If I was 16, probably the X-Men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian, what about you? Who would you have written?
Oh, Fantastic Four, but specifically Doctor Doom.
Okay. So now you've got your dream character. Even at 16, 17 years old, I don't make that character in my image.
No.
I'm playing with Jack Kirby's creation, and like I'll put him through his paces, I'll break his armor, he'll get defeated. I'll talk about Doctor Doom, but I'm not inserting myself so that for the next 30, 40 years, people see, oh, Jack Kirby, you know what I mean? I got my own stuff that I want to do. That'll be my stuff. Like
it's gross. It's uncool. It's just and it's so narcissistic.
Yeah, but I see like these creators who've been in comics for less than 5-6 years, they're irreversibly changing these characters.
Yeah,
that they don't have the they're in the right.
But the thing is, you're looking at it as a normal person, who takes things into consideration. But at the top, these people, they want to take over these popular things so they can use that as a vehicle to promote their ideas.
Right.
And when in their minds, if it fails, which of course it's going to, because no one wants these kind of stories, that's good too, because it denies people who like the old comics, who like the old TV shows, who like the old movies. It denies them a source of that enjoyment.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily a like, oh, well, why did they do this? No. It's very purposeful. And the people they hire, are they narcissistic? For sure. And they're allowed to make these kind of stories. In fact, they are promoted and rewarded for making these kind of stories by the decision makers, because where's editorial? Editorial should have been cutting this stuff down for the last 15 or so years,
And these writers, they're also, they get paid. They don't have an economic interest in it. So they want to make Social Justice Fantastic Four. They're still getting their page rate. They're still getting work, But if Marvel wasn't being subsidized, they would be gone.
They'd be gone, yeah.
And then to me, this is the biggest argument against communism. You know what I mean? Like the best stuff it just doesn't happen. We get mediocrity. Just there's no economic reason to stop this bad comic under communism. So we're just going to get bad art, bad comics, bad paintings. Because there's no reason to stop. It's just propped up by a system rather than interest and merit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's heinous.
What does Logic say? I always like Logic's comments. Now, emotions or opinions are more important than facts and rational thinking. When a person tells you there are more than two genders, just walk away. Yeah, I could get started. I got family members who won't talk to me because I'm just like, it's two genders. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
Oh man, I've lost so many friends. It's not funny.
And I just go, when did this change? What year did this change? What discovery changed this?
Right.
Tell me the empirical data that changed this. I said, because I could tell you the person who came up with that concept, who he had nothing to do with biology. And I said, and then other people just started repeating it. But anyway, that's besides the point. Popular opinion doesn't make things affect. And and now politics, I've realized now that the left, when Obama was running, it was hope. He saw the church hope. Now, Kamala, do you know what the new emotion is that's been downloaded? Joy.
Right.
Nothing nothing concrete, nothing tangible, nothing that can be studied, nothing that can be measured, nothing that can be argued. Because how could you argue against hope? How can you argue against joy? But it's nothing concrete. It's not like economy, war, jobs, numbers, growth. Joy. So when the next Democrat, I'm trying to predict it now. So if we already had hope, we already have joy. What will be the next emotion? Inspiration. What you know what I mean? That'll be the next guy in 2028. Inspiration.
Right. Well, I mean, you have to understand, like all they have is fear right now. Right. That's all they have. So they're going to say joy, but they're really, it's just like all they have is Trump. And they were so good. Like you look at Trump derangement syndrome. I saw it for the first time. I remember I used to run a depression and bipolar support group, right? And for like 10 years. And so we had a meeting and a bunch of people, we would have our meetings and then we would break into smaller groups of like 5 or 6 people, right? And one of the people who was a millennial came in and she was like, she was hyperventilating. She was like, why? Because Trump had gotten elected, right? And I'm not a Trump fan. I didn't vote for him. right? But I also wasn't afraid of him. And for months, for like a year, it had been drilled into her head. If he becomes president, it's the literal end of the world. The
Well,
literal end of the world. And so
I
she'd
had a
been so
friend-
brainwashed that she really believed that, like, yeah, that's it. It's over. We're all going to die.
my friend he doesn't talk to me anymore because the night Trump got elected, he goes, John, the night Trump got elected, I had to console my 9-year-old and 12-year-old daughter because they were, the mother was part Mexican, that Trump was, So he's telling me, I said, so why did you fill their head with nonsense and make them afraid? I said, that wasn't Trump's fault. I said, they're 9 and 12-year-old girls. You are the bad guy in this scenario.
Yes.
You filled them with nonsense. That's not Trump's fault. That's not the Republican's fault. I said, name the Republican that went into your house and filled your kids with fear. But anyway, stop politics. I agree with Oscar. Stop politics. Let's talk about politics.
Got a couple things to show off here because you're just talking about like old Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
Yeah, I got this treasure vault. This will be
Remember this little module right here?
Oh yeah, I got that right over on the table.
Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, right? Which is basically your party stumbles across a spaceship,
right?
A flying saucer.
Yep. Is that the introduction to the Mind Flayer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and man, I'm actually surprised at the good condition that this is in. Yeah, and then of course there's this tree trunk monster that has a cute little bunny at the top, right, to like lure in victims. Yeah, these were great. And then of course one of my favorite comic book artists is Timothy Truman. And how did he get his start? Working for TSR. Like he did a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons manuals. He also did Star Frontiers. Did a lot of the art for that. Look at that. That's a nice look at Troll right there. And then
I just
one
got
of my favorites,
the colorist that I'm trying to spoil, but I just downloaded it and I'm not good with computers. I don't know where it went. So keep talking while I look for this.
That's okay. That's okay. Did any of you gentlemen ever have this?
No.
Oh man. Back in the day, this was the source for all things Star Trek because there weren't any like official manuals to the Star Trek universe or anything like that. And the basic rule book covered all of the lore and all of the different races and really gave you like all the information that you needed on the Star Trek universe.
That rule book is where I learned that the two-fisted Kirk punch is called the Kirk Smash.
The Kirk Smash. Dun, 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 dun.
Yang, I know you play tabletop role-playing games, but do you play like tactical miniature games or anything like that?
No, those are very expensive.
Yeah, they're very
yeah, man.
It's too much money.
There's a store called Brothers Grimm. I might as well give them a shout out. So now you know where I live. It's literally 2 blocks away from me. And they have tables set up and they play a lot of Warhammer and things like that. A couple of my friends play. But I like the Star Trek. It's called Star Trek Attack Wing Tactical Miniatures game. And
I've played that actually.
I love it.
It's fun.
I love it more than the Star Wars version because the Star Wars version, you get 10 points and 10 points will buy you an X-Wing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So for 100 points, you have 10 X-Wings. So you got a lot of miniatures, so it's a lot of stuff to keep track of. But in Star Trek, if you have 100 points, you get an Enterprise, which is 35 points, and then you get Kirk, which is 9 points. So you're taking one ship and really tricking it out with the crew and everything like that. So it's less to keep track of.
That's great.
And then my friends that I made out here, they're all cops and lawyers, and you know what I mean. And they have kids, whereas I don't have kids. So they're like, "Oh, I got this tub of Star Wars and Star Trek X-Wing miniatures and attack. Do you want them?" So I'm not even joking. I could probably build like a 10,000 point army. And that's one of the things I would love to do is set up cameras and like have people out here. And just because I built my table so that I could put 2 3x3, because to play these war games, you need a 3x3 mat. So I could put 2 of them. That's how big this freaking table is.
Nice.
and we can have a huge battle of either X-wing, Star Wars.
Man.
And now, if I could get super nerdy, okay, there's a game called Star Wars Imperial Assault. So Star Wars Imperial Assault is Luke, Leia, Chewbacca on a planet fighting stormtroopers. Okay, so it's persons. Then there's Star Trek or Star Wars Attack Wing, which is TIE fighters versus X-wings. Then there's Star Wars Armada, which is Star Destroyers versus whatever they're called, Mon Calamari cruisers, you know what I mean?
Right.
And things like that. So there are 3 different scales. I would love to set up 3 tables and have the Imperial destroyers coming in, and you got to get the X-wings. You got to get the the Calamari cruisers and the Rebellion corvettes to make it to this point, and then you release the X-wings and TIE fighters. Then we go to this table and have that, and whoever survives goes down to this table for the land assault. I'm talking like that to me would be the ultimate geeky. And on my birthday, I used to have, like, we would rent a meeting room in a hotel and play games all weekend. When I say I still love Star Wars, did you see how I geeked out about this, talking about Star Wars?
Yes.
Because I still love, but even though in my mind there's 3 Star Wars movies, we forget how much we hated the prequels. Yang, you could back me up. We're close to the same age.
Yeah.
We hated the prequels so much that George Lucas said, F you guys, I'm selling this shit to Disney.
Yeah.
And now, forget, we be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, there are people that love the prequels. I thought that they were crap. And especially they had the misfortune of coming out at the same time as the Lord of the Rings movies, the Peter Jackson films, right? And you saw the difference between a blue screen and the real thing.
Yes, I will always say that practical effects are better. I'm not
and the locations too.
Yep. The CGI is another tool, and I used to be completely against AI, but now I'm starting to see that AI is a tool too. But
yes, just like anything else, it could be used and abused.
I want to address this. Yes, you could be a Gorn in my Star Trek game. You could be the Gorn.
Be Klingons too.
You could build a Gorn ship. You could build everything except for those godlike races. And you see behind me, there's a board cube.
Oh yeah.
That's a piece for Star Trek miniature.
Ooh, nice.
That's actually a board game piece. And I will say this, because I'm not going to pick it up, but this is how big. I'm not even joking. That board cube is about this big. The Enterprise the original Kirk Enterprise is about this big.
Right, because you're going to have a bunch of ships that are swarming that one.
The board cube doesn't turn. You put the board cube in the middle of the board.
Right.
And if the board cube rotates, every other ship moves instead.
Interesting. Have you seen like some of the gaming tables that they've come out with now? Tables that are designed specifically for gaming? It's ridiculous.
That's a gaming table. You see it's got the cups on it.
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go. John would be one of those dudes.
You could lift up the wood, and it's recessed with felt.
Oh,
so it's easy to pick up cards and everything.
Now, did you make that yourself, or did you buy that?
I went. I might as well give them a shout out. Now I can't remember the name of the company. All Play. They used to be called something else, but now they're called All Play. And
it's so great, man.
I paid. I'm not going to tell you what I paid, but I paid a lot of money for that table. But
I hear you.
But you only get to buy a house, build a house, design it to the way you want once in your life.
Right.
So I want what I want, and I got an expensive table. But you're
going to use it too.
I use it twice a week. They had a glitch in their website, and I thought I was ordering something, and with the tables included, but the glitch made it that I actually ordered something twice as expensive because they had like formulas of tables, and I thought I was clicking on that with the chairs, but I clicked because of the glitch. I got a bigger table, which actually was a blessing in disguise. A lot more money, but it didn't come with the chairs. So they were just about to ship it. And I'm just like, oh, good. When are the chairs going to get here? Like, no chairs. I'm like, are you kidding me? I paid double because the bottom line model is $1,800. So I paid more than double.
Wow.
I told them I don't want it. They're like, but we built this specifically for you. I'm like, yeah, but it was supposed to have. So the guy thought I was a con until we did a video call and I showed him exactly, and he saw the glitch. And to his credit, he was just like, yeah, you're not a con man. You're not a crook. He sent me the chairs. So I will say this company, All Play, they had a problem. They worked it out and they did the right thing. So I will always give them the credit that they deserve. But it was very expensive. But
nice.
my nieces and nephews, because they'll have this table. It's that well made.
Beautiful. So cool.
Sorry guys, I gotta head on out.
Nice meeting you. Yang.
Good to meet you.
So Yang, I'll go through this book. It starts with the very early days of D&D. It's just art.
Yeah.
And I figured you would be the person to talk to when I do this. I was going to do it tonight.
Oh, for sure.
I got distracted. So one of these days we'll set up a
all right, sounds good.
Stream. But thanks for coming on. And guys,
thanks for having me, guys.
The way I am,
I'm
talking until the cows come home. So I might as well throw this link in there. Empire of the Undying Sun. Let me
that looks cool.
Your link in here.
Thank you.
Time. And when is this going live?
September 27th.
And what is it exactly again? I don't want to miss.
So it's a horror campaign guide for the 5th edition. So there's sort of 3 types of books when you're talking about role-playing games. Type 1 is just the rules. It's like a player's guide, a dungeon master's guide, maybe a monster manual, that type of thing. Type 2 is setting, where, everything about the city of Greyhawk. And type 3 is setting plus a storyline. So this is more of type 3, where we combine a lot of different kinds of horror. The overarching theme is cosmic horror, but we have, there's something in the woods, New England type of horror. We have, you go to swashbuckling pirate adventures on the sea, but there's something stalking you. You have a murderous religion that demands blood sacrifice. We have all sorts of great stuff.
This isn't for Dungeons and Dragons. These are like
it is.
Oh, Dungeons and Dragons. Because when you say New England, I was like New England, just by Park over there.
Yeah, no. We're not heading over to Peter Cimetti's house. It's but that style of horror, like the classic American, like, hey, we're out of civilization, we're in the woods, there's something not right here.
That sounds
you have
cool.
Undead invasions. It's a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got to go. You're one of my favorite people to talk to, so I'm sure you'll be back before you even launch this.
Hopefully.
Yeah. All right. See, and Yang has his own YouTube channel. What's the name of your channel? I don't want to say.
Well, you can find it at Yang Yan Zhao 4. See right there.
Yep. And last night you had Pete Cimetti and Kier Covington and Rob Geronimo.
Yep. We were talking about their Great Blood Moon campaign. Like, how awesome is that glow in the dark cover?
I know. Yeah, I saw you geeking out about that last night. Yep. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
And here's an open invite. Anybody else wants to pop in? And what did New Dungeoneer say? I mean, AI does a lot of things, not just draw the whole page. You could use it to fill in spots, extend your own art. I will say this, just to court controversy. If you are a comic book artist and you're using AI for your thumbnails or to sell your campaign about comics that you're going to draw, that's a big red flag for me. So
yeah, man.
And that's all I want to say about that.
Right.
Evil Dead D&D. Yep. Kevin.
For sure.
I might as well tell Kevin was one of my roommates out in Albuquerque. I was itching to play a role-playing game, and I moved out to Albuquerque. I didn't really know anybody, and I just saw Kevin walking down the street carrying a book, not Magic the Gathering, Vampire the Masquerade.
Gotcha.
And I saw him going to the house across the street, and I noticed like Tuesdays. So I just basically ran and invited myself into Kevin's game.
That's
Our
cool.
friend Jason was running the game. I infiltrated the game, and then I ran Vampire for a while. And then the ultimate goal was to introduce them to my game, Villains and Vigilantes. So
Yeah.
I've been playing Villains and Vigilantes literally since this came out.
Wow.
The short exception of maybe the year or two where I had to swindle everybody from Vampire to Villains and Vigilantes, and it's the only, because I use it for horror, pirates, historical fiction. Like I have a V&V campaign. I haven't played it yet, but you're Roman soldiers in Britain, and you're building the wall up there,
Right, Hadrian's Wall.
building Hadrian's Wall. But what the commander doesn't tell you foot soldiers is it's really it's a magical boundary, because there's eldritch horrors up there in Scotland.
Right, it's things worse than the Picts.
You know what I mean? There's Cthulhu
Yeah.
monsters. And,
Right.
I have like a Three Musketeers campaign where you guys are
Nice.
basically British secret agents infiltrating, the Ottoman Empire to recover lost magic books, but all
Oh, that's great.
using these rules, because that's how flexible these. To me, I've never needed another rule book.
It's interesting because, like, I mean, I bought every role-playing game, it seemed, except that. I don't think I ever remember seeing that for sale. I had Champions. I still have my Champions.
Yeah, I bought them
Here
all
somewhere.
I data mined them for like characters and stories, and so upstairs I have a whole shelf of all different role playing. I got like the Hellboy role playing book. I got the Yosagi Yojimbo role playing book, because I like them.
Yeah,
Kevin,
they're fun.
so Kevin, if you don't mind,
Damn.
give me the names of your characters. Kevin. I left Albuquerque in 2000. So me and Kevin were playing from 2000. I went back to my original group, Mike, Paul, and Jimmy, that I played with before. So I played up until 1993.
Wow.
And then in 1993, I moved to Albuquerque, and that's where I met Kevin. So from 94 to 2000, I played with Kevin. Then I moved back to New York, and I went back to my original group. And then I had two groups. I had a group that I met in Queens, but they were, like I said, they were in their late 20s, early 30s. So there was like a generational divide. When I showed them that V&V consent form, they actually thought it was a good idea.
Oh my God. Oh. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then when COVID happened, they're like, we're not meeting in anybody's houses until there's a shot. And then when they found out I wouldn't get the shot, they didn't want to come over to my house. So,
well, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of groups broke up around that time.
Which pissed me off though, because it was like a 5-year campain, and we were 2 to 3 sessions away from finishing it.
Oh my God!
And it tied the superhero world, the fantasy world, tied it all together. And I'll spoil this: the key that tied it all together was Fleetwood Mac, and I was so proud of that story, and I never got to tell it.
Oh, that's a shame, man. That's a shame. Oh, that sucks. Yeah. I mean, when you're a DM, you're trying to create a story. I mean, I've always thought of role-playing games as sort of like collaborative, interactive storytelling, right? Where everybody is kind of like pitching in to the story, and that there's something cool and that there's something magical about that.
And right before COVID, no. I'm getting the time mixed up, but I've been toying with the idea of going to a local. No, it was before COVID. Of going to a local game store and setting up a V&V superhero game with kids, because I volunteered when I was a teacher. Mondays was role-playing nights, and I taught 5th graders how to play Villains Vigilantes, because I won't touch the Dungeons & Dragons system. I think, well, maybe it's different now, but up to 2nd edition, I thought it was purposely designed to be flawed so that you needed to buy updates and products. Whereas the problem with this is it was perfect from this. This is a $5 rulebook, and literally this is all you need to play. Everything else is optional.
Well, the problem with the original like AD&D rules is that they were just too Byzantine, right? They were just too,
that's a good word for that.
And then of course, if you wanted to play a fighter, well, all you could do is you didn't have any special attacks or anything like that. I think some of the later editions actually got good in the sense that they made combat move a lot quicker.
Right. Oh, geez, in the
But
second
some
edition,
people
if
like
you
the really slow combat. So
Brian, I don't know how old you are with this, but in the first edition, if you threw a punch at somebody,
yeah,
it dragged everything to a halt. And
right,
you had so many charts. So what I liked about the V&V is and it's still flawed to the
Right.
point where my house rules are bigger than that rule book. But
right.
If you want to play 4-color Silver Age comic books, this is it.
Right.
But I like to add lethality to it, and then I have like an elaborate magic system and stuff like that. So I'm a lunatic, but the normal person, all you need, like this. These are the cards. I'm just gonna make my screen big. These are the cards that come with my comic. So this is well, but these are all the rules you need. You buy this, you buy my comic, you could take this, and if you buy V&V, you could role play this character as an NPC.
That's so cool.
That's how simple it is. Of me, I made it more complicated. And I got friends that I met over here that will play like once a month. And some of them are just like, I need to read you down. And I said, no, you're not reading the rules. Because you're not rules lawyering me. Like, you're going to play, you're going to tell me what you want to do. I know the rules. And it's funny because my wife, she played a few times and she got really like apprehensive. She's like, but I can't remember all these rules. And I said, you don't need to know rules. So what I do is, like my friend Jimmy, who shows up a lot of time, I'd be like, okay, you're new. So Jimmy will be your buddy and he'll help you with the rules. So I'm like, okay, initiative. And Jimmy will be like, okay, initiative is one die. You take a die 10, you add it to you. So he'll help you. So you get the rules. I call it drip release as we go along, because the story that I always tell is I had this childhood friend, Jimmy, a different Jimmy. He was a cool guy. We were into punk rock and everything like that. And comic books and D&D were for fags. You know what I mean? But we were still buddies. So I was always trying to get him to play D&D with us, because literally it would be like, I can't hang out tonight, Jimmy. I'm playing D&D. So he'd be like, okay, you the nerds are hanging out. And but I was like, why don't you play with us? No, he was not interested. So he went to his summer house, and during the day you're running around, swimming, doing all the stuff, but at night there's nothing to do in a log cabin. So the kid next door was like, we want to play Dungeons & Dragons? He's like, my friend John's always trying to get me to play Dungeons & Dragons. So yeah, I'll play Dungeons. So what does he do? The worst possible thing in the world. Gives him a Dungeon Master's Guide. He gives him a player's handbook, says, read these. We'll make up characters tomorrow. So Jimmy was just like, I got homework?
Right, exactly.
He should have just said, okay, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a knight? Do you want to be, and just made it exciting and roll these dice and blah, blah. So that's how I don't tell you any rules. Brian, you come to my house, you want to play? Here, okay. Right. Roll these dice. I give you the rule when you need. I'm the watcher. I'm the guy who knows all the rules. You're the player. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know, if I pick up the sword and hit this orc, okay, now you got to roll a dice. And okay, so now we're gonna compare your accuracy and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? So you'll like, Jimmy's probably the only person who knows all the rules, because we literally been playing for 30 years. Kevin knows all the rules because he's playing this. So Kevin, I got to ask you, do you use my house rules, or do you play, basic V&V? I have 4 players. Okay. So, and Fagles, yep. We're from New York. We get called that all the time. Once have a deep court. Yeah. And that's one thing I'd like down the line, depending upon if there's interest, if I can still do it, and if it's economically feasible, I would like to make Heroic Tales the role-playing game, and then, not abandon V&V. That sounds so mad, but like evolve.
Right. So you'd use like your own house rules. Right. But I think that's a great idea. I mean, that's a great approach, because you want to make the game accessible for new people, right? It's the same. A lot of people won't play video games because they're freaked out by this, right? There's too many buttons. Right. So they're just like, they're overwhelmed. Right. It's not like the old Atari 2600. We had a joystick and one button. So yeah, that's right. Yeah, Andy Smith for Core Draft has little figurines too
Yeah.
that are like D&D scale.
I know Fabrizio Aiello, who does Horace H. Hoover, he does 3D sculpting and they look awesome. And Shadowpunk, he also does 3D sculpting, but it takes him like, he says, like 50 hours. So even at like $10 an hour, that's a lot of money. But someday,
the new ones.
yes,
the new ones cook.
You know, someday, if my comic does well enough, I would like to crowdfund miniatures for all the characters. You know?
You need one of these. The guy to talk to is my buddy Simon Poitier, my Quebecois brother from another mother in beautiful Montreal, Canada. And like the printer that he had before would take maybe about 6 hours to make a figurine like this. Now it takes about 3, but he can also make about 3 at the same time.
Oh, cool.
And you'll notice like there's no lines or anything like that. The technology is moving really, really, really fast. And it's gotten pretty amazing.
Oh, Kevin says, I use the rules we developed together. Yeah, and Kevin, I made a lot of rules since, you know, remember I moved in 2000. So it's and a bunch of my own house rules. I'm curious, Kevin, like, are your rules, could you publish them at all? Could you go onto the forum and publish them? I'd be real curious because some of your rules might be something that I need. But if you go to www.villainsandvigilantesforum.com, that's my forum that I've been maintaining since like 1999.
Incredible.
And it has all the story sessions, and it has my house rules. You could click and get like a huge Word document of all my work. Aaron Sparrow has a company. Does he sculpt them or print them? Because a lot of people just bought 3D printers and you could download and print stuff. But I'm talking, because I have a 3D printer. There was a one-day sale on Amazon for a $400 3D printer. It was $189. I bought it. It was the Mars Elugu. It's small. And I used it like 4 times, and it's been sitting in my garage for like a year and a half, like with dust on it. As my wife calls it, it's the spider farm. Because
oh no,
I printed a couple of things with it, but I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know what else to print. And I would like to get the Jupiter. It's big because I don't want to, like, I'd like to make like a Magneto helmet or something like that, but I don't want to glue pieces together. Like I just done one and done, but I'm not buying any more because I don't have a use for it. I changed the sorcerer class so that it works on a pool of spell points, the amount of which greatly depends on you. Okay. Yeah, I hated the excuse me. I never liked that the wizard could cast 1 spell a day. So I shoot 1 magic missile. Now I'm useless. Protect me for the rest of the day. I never, like I always thought like a wizard should be like, you want to limit a wizard, then give him components and reagents and stuff like that. And if he doesn't, and then also you got to understand, like when you're the DM, you can't introduce spells because they'll never leave. You can't put that cat back into the bag. So
right.
Unless the wizard is doing research and making his own magic, the DM controls the magic.
And even Gandalf had a sword.
Right. And that always bothered me. That's another thing, is my fantasy world. You're just a human. Now, I want to be a football player. I tell everybody I'm a football player, but I'm weak and I'm small. Right. I'm still a football player. I'm just lousy, but I'm not a pro football player.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. So you could be a wizard.
Like I know Kung Fu. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm a thief. All a thief is a guy who steals stuff, but I wear plate mail armor and I carry a big, huge, bright orange Dayglow sword. I'm the worst thief in the world. But so a couple of my friends who were in this group, they couldn't get used to, design your own character. Like I did away with character classes. Like, so you could be a guy who wears plate mail and a sword, but you're really a wizard. And then, but the way armor works in my world is it slows you down. You're not going to be, so you get like minuses to your agility. So if you want to cast a spell, you want to cast the spell quick before you get interrupted. So if you want to wear plate mail and carry a sword, you're spending all your points in the wrong place. So you're just a lousy wizard. But you can be a wizard in armor. I don't see why not. Right. We all watched Excalibur. Merlin carried a sword. Gandalf carried a sword.
Right.
you know.
John, I got a boogie. I got to go.
Yeah, a lot of people. I've been talking to my wife.
Some chow chow, and need to run to the supermarket before my stream tonight. 9:30. We're doing Count Yorga Vampire on the horror movie club.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for having me on, sir.
Yeah, anytime. And I'll throw this up here if anybody wants to pop in. But there was a question that I wanted to address that I'm easily distracted, guys. So don't, if any questions that people brought up and I didn't address, just it's not malice. It's just me being a silly person. But
it's okay.
Oscar, I can't
Peace
find
out,
it.
John.
But thank you, Brian. Thanks for popping in. But Oscar said, do I ever play via Zoom or online? I tried it once. Oh, here we go. Here's the question. Oscar Crano. Don't you ever play via Zoom online it's during the pandemic? I played with a friend and it was fun, but it just didn't feel the same. It didn't feel, we get here, we get Funyuns, we have pizza, we laugh, we joke. I hear the dice being rolled, the papers being shuffled, but some people, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. We did once a long time ago. One of my friends was in Pennsylvania and he played via a webcam and it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. So I don't like it. I would like to play in person with friends. We show up, share a pizza, and things like that. So there you go. Nothing against you if you like it. How do the both of you feel about online? So that answers your question. It's not the same. Yes, it's not the same sharing pizza and joking and fight. And then Catalyst Vault says Rhiannon rings like a bell to the night, and wouldn't you love to love her? That was the prayer that one of the elves offered to the sky. That was going to be the clue that everything was tied together. So it's funny that you said that. I'm starting a new campaign currently in the middle of character creation process. Is it superheroes? Is it fantasy, Kevin? And who's playing? And what's the name of the characters if you have them out already? What else? I've had some on the old forum. Oh, well, it's a new forum now. It crashed because it was there was an update that was incompatible with the oldie software, but it's up now. So I will type it in the www.vigilantiesforum.com. So you could go here, and matter of fact, I'll show everybody. This will be the last thing that I do. www.villains-and-vigilantes-forum. Just making sure. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. So am I sharing? Oh, of course I'm not sharing. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to make this big. So how do I? Okay, we got this. So if you type in this, it's going to bring you to this. So what this is this is an update about my crowdfund, Fund My Comic. This middle one is the Kickstarter, and then this is the port. So this is 3 portals. So if you click this, it's going to take you to the campaign that ended. So I got to update this. If you click this, it'll take you to the Kickstarter that's going to end in 5 days. So I'm going to have to change that. But if you click this, this will take you to the actual. Oh no! Of course. Oh, I hit the wrong button. You click the forum button. I just panicked. So this is my forum. So welcome. This is like the introduction and news. This is the house rules section. So if you click on the house rules section, and there's a pinned John's house rules. This is where is it? Click here for a copy. Oh geez. We got to fix this. We can't find it. Oh geez. So how embarrassing. Oh, there it is. So that'll. Oh no, it's not. All right, that will show you that there's problems. So we got to fix this. Okay. Oh, click here. Oh, so this will take you to my house rules. And there you go. Is my house rules. And look how long this stupid document is. Look at that. Talk about a crazy person, his magic. And then you'll see that there's a whole, in my house rules, there's a whole section about mind flayers. So there you go. That's my forum. Should be underlined if it's a hyperlink. Yes, the problem is yes. So yes, it should be underlined. Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We'll fix that. So that's that. All right. What's this? One day soon we'll talk John Byrne. Yeah. So you're playing a Gamma World Low Fantasy. That's pretty cool. Need a proper link. Yes, I do. I need a proper link. Should be underlined if it's a yeah. I'll fix that. Thank you. So I got nothing else to say. This was just a spur of the moment thing because I was working. Oh man, I need to shave. I could see I missed spots. I was working on my comic and I got as far as I could possibly go into the last 3 pages. So I was like, and I was going to go outside, but it's hot and muggy. So there you go. So I'm going to end this now. I've been talking for almost 3 hours and nobody else seems to want to pop in. So at 11 o'clock tonight, I'm going to do Comics Great 3 and it's talking about great comics. It's going to be Elementals 6 to 10. It's going to be an open invite. And I made it at 11 p.m. because RRNT, I think it is, asked if he wants to join in, and he loves Elementals, but he's in New Zealand, so this was the best compromise time for both of us. You know, I'm the guy that suggested to Matt Mercer that they should make a comic book and an animation out of Campaign. In fact, ED used several of my. Oh, cool. So there you go. Comments have stopped. My wife is over there waiting for me, so I'm going to get going. Thanks a lot, everybody.